there. Hello there, everybody. Happy
Oh,
Thursday. Hope you're all doing well. Happy Tariff Day. Today is the day of tariffs. But you know what's not tariffed, Adam?
what?
The comic.
Oh, yeah. Well, hopefully, I don't know. It's hard to say now. Sending out international is horrible, but look, I still have comics left. I don't want to make it long. There's a link in the description. There's a link in the chat. You guys who are still buying comics for American shipping are saving my life on the international shipping. So thank you so much. Everyone who ordered comics yesterday, and a bunch of you did, I sent out obviously same day. I'll do the same today. So what are we talking about today, Sitch?
We're talking about how the Obamas are not getting divorced. Okay. I
Oh,
know
really?
that
What?
there was this massive controversy that Barack Obama may be banging Jennifer Aniston. And Jennifer Aniston is like, I've never even like met, or I think she met Barack Obama once. But the
Really?
but
Oh,
the
damn.
the rumors have been quelled. The Obamas are not getting divorced. They are not. Barack Obama is not having an affair with Jennifer Aniston. I know so many of
This is
you
disappointing.
are very disappointed in this news, but there you go.
I
Okay,
am.
right.
Damn it.
So
I want
sad.
some salacious stuff going
I
on.
know. I know. Anyways, and less important news than the Obama divorce rumors. Tariffs. We got to talk about tariffs. Everyone's talking about tariffs. The tariffs are coming for you. What's going on with these tariffs? Okay.
Right. Yeah.
So let me read a little bit from the New York Times today about the tariffs. We'll talk about what's going on today. President Trump has sweeping tariffs on foreign steel and aluminum that went in effect yesterday, inviting immediate retaliation from the EU and escalating tensions with other trading partners, reeling from this on and off approach to steep trade penalties. Now, I want you to
Hmm.
remember this on off approach because I'm going to talk about that at the end here.
Yeah.
Mr. Trump's tariffs on 25% hit metal imports from every country that sells steel and aluminum to the United States. Many domestic steel and aluminum makers support the move, obviously, saying it will help protect their industry against foreign competitors. But the tariffs are expected to raise the cost for American businesses that use foreign metals, including manufacturers of cars, canned food and drinks, solar panels, and other products. Some trading partners have vowed to retaliate by issuing levies aimed at hurting U.S. exporters. Canada, a major supplier of metal in the United States, said that it would impose a new retaliatory tariff on $20 billion worth of American imports, including metals, computers, and sporting goods. And the EU swiftly announced tariffs on up to $28 billion worth of American goods, including bourbon, boats, and motorcycles.
No comics. Thank goodness.
No comics, right? The other countries like Mexico and Brazil have all said that they're going to, and I think the UK have all said that they're going to hold off on retaliatory tariffs until uh, April 2nd, I believe, is when there's going to be another big conversation where Trump's threatening to lay down some more tariffs. So those other countries are waiting for that shoe to drop, I guess, before they slam back or come to some sort of agreement with the US and don't slam back.
Right. It's got to be tough if you're an auto manufacturer because obviously Trump wants them to bring their factories back to the United States. But then you're forced to pay twice as much for US steel, right? Like, is it really, are you really going to save money? You're paying more for labor, you're paying more for steel.
Yes.
Seems like
Yeah,
a bad deal.
it does. It does. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. And now we can watch a little bit of a video that's the someone from the Trump administration talking about the steel tariffs. I think he does a particularly poor job, which is kind of I thought it was kind of interesting to watch it for a second.
What are these
But
graphs you wanted me to bring up? Are those
oh, so
pertinent?
yeah, so these graphs show where we get steel and aluminum from in America.
Right.
Okay. So you can
Canada,
see
Mexico, South Korea, Brazil, Germany, Taiwan, Japan,
right.
Italy, China, Vietnam.
So you can see from steel, we get the overwhelming majority from Canada and Mexico, and then third is South Korea. And
It's
then with
funny,
the
all this list is like how far away they are, right? Australia, obviously, we get the least because it's way across the planet.
yeah, that's a good well, not really, because South Korea is further away than Brazil, right?
Oh,
And
I guess you're
Germany.
right. I guess
So,
you're right. Look at that.
but
South Korea's killing it.
South Korea, I guess South Korea and Taiwan are the outliers, right?
Yes.
But I'm assuming some of it also probably has to do with how much steel South Korea and all these other countries, have, manufacture, all this other stuff. And then same thing with aluminum. You see, we get the overwhelming majority of our aluminum from Canada, and then China is second.
Right.
So,
A,
and I
a
guess that,
way distant second.
right.
Well,
Well, I
actually,
guess
it
part
looks like United Arab Emirates is second, but
is no, they're, oh, you're right. You're right. UAE
yeah.
second, China's third. Yeah. And I guess like, going forward, if we're supposed to be sort of galvanizing again, like I understand the concept of, okay, we don't know what's going on with China. Supposedly, there's
Mhm.
been rumblings that China is gearing up to invade Taiwan in the next 1 or 2 years, right? That's what the rumblings say, right? We'll see if they come true. And so I understand if we want to sort of detach as much as possible from China going forward. But Canada,
You're right. Yeah.
America's hat, our neighbors to the north who we need for these precious mineral resources. Like if we're gonna unify against China, I think we're gonna be in a weaker position if we basically piss off Canada, Mexico, and the EU.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like a good move. People are criticizing Trump on this, obviously.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
The word on the street is he's beating up our close allies and going easy on our total enemies.
Right. Which I don't even know if it was like I would even frame it that way. I know that's the way people are framing it. I don't know if I agree with that framing. It
Mhm.
just seems like there's this a complete isolationist attitude to not really make a friend enemy distinction because he's throwing like tariffs on China too. So it's not like he's not doing that, but just there's no distinction like, oh, these people are allies. It's like, nope, fuck them. Everyone gets tariffs.
Right. Yeah.
So
We'll see how it works out.
in response to the tariffs today or yesterday, and then the reaction tariffs from the EU and Canada, Trump put out this Truth Social post. He said, if this tariff is not removed immediately, the U.S. will shortly place a 200% tariff on all wines, champagnes, and alcoholic products coming out of France and other EU represented countries. This will be great for the wine and champagne business in the United States. So there you go, 200%
Yeah.
tariff on wines and champagnes and other alcohols.
My
Now,
God.
obviously, you can't really make champagne in US because champagne is supposed to technically be from Champagne, France, but I guess Trump doesn't know about that.
Well, just a selection of wines and are going to be completely limited at any restaurant. Like those
Right.
restaurants are the ones that are importing.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes. But listen, it's better for the country. We need to be drinking less alcohol, right?
Wine is like a luxury item. Do you really think they're not going to buy wine in America because they're buying it in France as well? I mean, do you think they're getting like a huge discount on French wines? And
I think, well, first of all, there's a lot of wine made in California,
yes, of
right?
course. Yeah.
So, so I don't know how much, like, I'm not a wine guy. I've never really liked wine ever. So I don't know if the wine snobs are going to be mad because they only can drink their California wine for 200% less or whatever. But
It's so bizarre that he's just completely punching the business community in the face when the Republican Party's been the representative of the business community forever. This is like a huge opportunity for Democrats.
I don't agree. I think what's
Hmm.
going on here is that Trump saw this as, okay, I need to attack the wine moms in the suburbs who voted against me last election. So I'm
Didn't
gonna
they vote
tariff up
for him?
their wines.
Didn't they vote for him this election though?
No, no.
Okay.
He's like, fuck those white suburban women in, drinking wine at their book clubs, okay?
Right.
Reading all their, those books that are really like porn for women, but they pretend are like literary, like good
Right.
literature.
Right.
That's really what's going on here. It's like, fuck the wine moms. It's a
Okay.
wine mom tax. That's how the right should frame it, okay? They get a lot of support if they did that. On Monday, Goldman Sachs slashed its 2025 economic growth forecast from 2.4% to 1.7%, citing the adverse trade policy. So they think that this is going to have a negative impact on the economy. And then someone from Goldman Sachs said this may be the calm for the CPI report before the storm, referring to inflation data, saying that they believe that with tariff policies, the inflation picture could potentially get uglier. Yes. So there was good news, which inflation had gone down, but now the tariffs, everyone thinks inflation is going to go back up.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm watching the stock market completely
The
crater.
stock market's obviously not doing well. An economic analysis that was published by the U.S. International Trade Commission, which is a government, an independent government bipartisan agency, suggested that the overall cost to the U.S. economy from Trump's first term on metal tariffs outweighed the gains. They did a study that found that the metal tariffs in 2018 encouraged buyers of steel and aluminum to purchase more from U.S. sources, which led to higher domestic prices for metals and expanded U.S. steel production by about 2% between 2018 and 2021. But the analysis also found that the tariffs raised production costs for firms that were making automobiles, tools, and industrial machinery, which shrunk the production in those and had other downstream industry effects by about 3.48 billion.
Who
So
could have
while
seen
the
it?
yeah, exactly. So while the steel and aluminum industry produced and made about 2.2 billion dollars more, the other industries lost about 3.4 billion. So they say there's a net loss to the whole thing.
$1.4 billion down.
Yes.
Where did that go?
They went into
Hmm.
it evaporated.
Who were the buyers there?
It
Not sure.
evaporated. Okay. So I want to play this clip and then I'll talk about, I think, the issue that I have with like a lot of the tariff stuff here.
Money's hard to conceptualize because at 1.4 billion, like it doesn't disappear. It's still in the economy, but it just doesn't go into the hands of those
Right.
producers. And once it goes into their hands, obviously it immediately goes in other hands. That's how business works. You're trying to foster economic activity. They talk about this in terms of the velocity of money. So, but yeah, so that sucks.
So here's a clip. It's a quote. This is from CNBC. It says, if a U.S. car company wants to follow Trump's wishes, it would take a minimum of 3.5 to 4 years and $4 billion per factory to move from Canada to the U.S., likely with significant losses during that period. So let's play this clip.
All right, look at this.
A plant from one country.
We got 29 seconds on the clock. 3, 2, 1, go.
A plant from one country to another, have it done overnight. I've done some game planning, or asking for a game plan from people who work with the automakers. Minimum to set up a new plant, 3.5 to 4 years. Minimum cost, $3.5 billion, maybe $4 billion. If you're an executive and you know that the administration wants you to move production here to the U.S., while on one hand you want to be on the good side of the administration, on the other you have to sit a plant from one country.
All right, that's it. Kind of cuts off mid-sentence.
Right. So my issue, I think, with a lot of stuff with the tariffs is and people have been questioning, what is the goal of the tariffs? Because on one hand, we get the idea is it's supposed to bring jobs back to America, which is like, okay, that makes sense. But on the other hand, it's like, oh, we need to stop fentanyl. We need to be secure in our steel supplies, blah, 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 blah. And I don't think you can't kind of roll these together. And the reason for that, it doesn't really make sense to conceptualize it that way is, as this guy's time out here, and I think this is a really good point, if you want to bring jobs back to America, it's very expensive and it's going to take a long time for them to set up shop again. You need to have a conversation. Well, first of all, you need to come up with like a plan, and you have to go, okay, here's what our tariff plan is going to look like. And we're going to set it in stone. It's going to be, X percentage, and it's going to last, 4 years, obviously for the term of Trump's term, but then he's going to be like, write a long-term plan so that he's going to try to sell it like it's going to last 10 years or longer. Because then you need to go to the auto manufacturers and you got to say, look, here's our tariff plan. Boom, set in stone, this percentage, it's going to last for 10 years. So if you want to have profits in 10 years, you got to move your companies and you got to move your factories back to America. That's the way you would do it for any industry if you're trying to get jobs to come back to America. What doesn't work, and I don't think is going to work to get jobs to come back to America, at least, on some sort of wide scale, is this sort of the way that Trump's kind of doing it right now, where it's like every month there's this big question mark about what are the tariffs going to look like. Last month it's like, oh, we were going to put tariffs on Canada and Mexico, and then and then Trump pulled back, and then and then a month later he puts the tariffs back on again, and now he's putting tariffs on now, but he's saying that maybe they'll pull them off in a month from now if they can renegotiate. And this creates way too much uncertainty for companies to make like a long-term billion-dollar decision to move manufacturing back to America if you keep, vacillating every month on what the tariffs are going to look like.
You don't want to make a $4 billion decision based on Trump's actions, Sitch? What are you, a pussy?
Well, listen, you can make a decision on Trump's actions. I mean, he's the president. You should be doing that, but they're not going to do it if he seems like bipolar and how all these tariffs come off. Like
bipolar. Oh my God! Shots fired.
You got schizophrenic. You got to make a decision. Okay, he's like Katy Perry. He's hot and then he's cold. He's got to just be like, we're doing tariffs. We're not doing tariffs, so that companies know what's going on.
Okay, I got a couple things, but
Okay,
first off, do you think it's too late? Do you think he's already showed himself to be too erratic to kind of reel it in?
It's possible because, well, because part of the thing with bringing jobs back is you have to convince the companies that it's not worth it to just, even if Trump says we're going to throw these tariffs out, you have to convince them it's not worth it for them to just try to hold out for 4 years, right? Which maybe if it's going to take them 4 years to build a factory in America and billions of dollars, maybe they'll just say that. Maybe they'll just shrug and say, well, we'll just wait 4 years, right? And
of course, yeah, that might be the wise
you could
decision.
be right. It could be too late. I don't know. It could be too late.
Right. Like if he came out tomorrow and started projecting stability, to completely changed his strategy. I mean, my gut is it's too late already. Like nobody thinks, everyone thinks Trump is just too erratic. So I think the market's going to go lower. We're probably going to be in a recession. I think inflation's going to get worse. I just like nothing. I was mentioning this to you before the stream. I mean, this strategy of Trump's has worked his whole life in real estate, and maybe it works in real estate where you promise the world and kind of figure it out after the fact, right? You build a tremendous picture in somebody's eyes of whatever project it is that you're going to do. But there's too many working parts for me to believe this is going to work in foreign policy and economic policy. It's just our leaders do not have enough information to make these kind of grand pronouncements. So you can pitch whatever you want, right? Making that a reality is like the figuring out as we go. I mean, that doesn't seem like an impossible task in real estate. It seems like a completely impossible task in foreign policy, right?
Yeah, definitely.
That's just like, yeah, whatever. So in the tariffs, you brought up an interesting point, and I kind of have been thinking about this, and there's really 3 purposes for tariffs. There's like money making, raising money from the taxes, which Trump has talked about. I think when we were on the gold standard, that might have been a valid thing. I'm not sure how valid it is when we literally print the money. Like our money is basically like coupons. So we're going to raise a bunch of our own coupons by tariffing people. Doesn't make a lot of sense. Forcing companies to produce in America, right? That's the second one. Get more jobs into America, and to open up foreign markets. But I don't know if you can do the 2 and 3, the force companies to produce in America and open up foreign markets at the same time. Exactly. Right. Like, why are you, if your ultimate goal is to get companies exclusively into America, why the fuck is anybody going to open up their market to you?
They're not.
Right?
Yeah.
So you're just going to be producing for Americans, which Americans have a consumer culture, which is great. This is where China completely fails. Like the Chinese people, they want to work their fingers to the bone and save every last dollar, right? They don't spend on anything, which is fine if you've got a partner like America where we want to fucking spend our money and enjoy life. Not so great if you're only selling to Chinese who just want to keep, who don't want to buy anything, right?
Right.
So I'm not sure even opening up our markets to Chinese is like great for American manufacturers, but those are kind of the headwinds I see in the tariff debate. And like I said before, I actually read, I can't remember the guy's name. I think it's Leitner or Lighthizer or something like that. Trump has a light guy in his administration now, but the guy who was his tariff guy in the first administration, he wrote a book on tariffs. I read, very reasonable, he explained everything very well. And it does seem like tariffs, well applicated, can actually do some good in the world. But that guy is not in Trump's administration now. And evidently, I think he had some success in his first administration because some of the tariffs he levied, actually Biden kept on. So Biden thought they were good enough to actually keep doing them. This administration, I have no idea. That guy's not in the Trump administration anymore. The guy, I read his book, and I don't know about this new guy that's throwing out tariff policy. But I agree with you 100,000% on the schizo strategy. Like, that's not a good strategy.
The guy's name is Robert Lighthizer.
Is that the guy in the administration
that
now?
Was the guy. No, that was the guy
that was his
you're
first guy.
about.
Okay, Lighthizer. Yeah, I read his book.
The book.
And look, I think we argued about this. Look, we never argued. I think we discussed this on stream earlier when we were talking about tariffs. And I brought up the fact that like foreign nationals are buying up our assets because of the unequal trade policy. And now that we've watched little Gary Stevens, maybe you're more warm to the idea of that's not a good thing because we're actually competing against. Yeah, we're actually competing, not only competing against our wealthy in the way that Gary talks about, but now we're competing against the wealthy in like China, because where there is not really a substantial middle class in China. It's like very poor and very rich. Yeah.
Well, and then also it's confusing because the Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, he said that he's telling Wall Street. So I don't know, maybe he's just telling Wall Street this. He's saying that, quote, my general view is at the end of the day, Donald Trump is a free trader. The tariffs are a means to escalate, to de-escalate. So he's claiming that they're not, the point of tariffs is not to bring manufacturing back to America. It's just to basically force foreign countries to drop their existing tariffs.
Open up foreign markets. Yeah.
Right. And so that's the problem. And that's exactly what you were saying. It's like, you can't do both of those things. There needs to be one goal. Someone had suggested, I forget who it was I was listening to. Someone suggested that maybe Trump has like the shotgun where he's just like going to shoot all three of the things you said, and he's going to see if one of them sticks. Then he's going to just claim credit for whichever one happened. He's going to be like, oh, well, I got one of the three things I was aiming for. So,
Yeah. I got to listen to some more Scott Adams. I'm curious how he spins this into Trump as the 10D chess master.
I haven't listened to him in a couple of days or a few days. Like,
oh,
week,
really?
I guess.
So you've listened to him recently.
I haven't listened to him like that much in a long time. But I know he's like so against alcohol that he's probably like jumping up and down for that because he's like, oh, alcohol is bad for you. Which, alcohol is bad for you. So
we should just ban it.
Oh, really?
That worked out well in the Prohibition age, right?
It did, yeah. But no, it's a good question. I don't know what happened to that Lighthizer guy. I don't know why I
don't know why he's not back in.
He's not back in.
He's got nothing but good things to say about him. So Trump does. Probably because he dismissed him.
Interesting.
Oh, maybe. Look, I vaguely remember. I think Lighthizer wanted Secretary of State. And that's why he's not back.
Oh, interesting. Oh, yeah. Okay.
I think he was putting the thumb screws to Trump to make him Secretary of State. If you remember, Trump did say several times, like, everybody wants Secretary of State. Like when he was doing the podcast, he was like, everyone's fucking wants Secretary of State.
Yes. Right.
So if Lighthizer was like, I'll come in, but I'm not going to be your trade guy. I'm going to be Secretary of State.
He's like, no, I need a little Marco here. Okay. Get out.
Yeah. He's like, I'm the big dick here. You fucking put me in Secretary of State or you fuck off. So that might be why he's not in the administration.
Interesting.
So Trump probably tried to get him, but couldn't get him unless he gave him the big dog position.
Okay, here, let's watch a little bit of this clip. We're going to jump around a bunch.
Is it in the Watch Together?
Canada strike.
So this is the Commerce Secretary Lutnick talking about everything that's going on here. I don't think he's a particularly good advocate for the administration. So I'm curious to get your take on this.
Lutnick?
Yeah.
He's a sales guy.
Oh, do you know about him? His background?
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, he's here to sell it. I don't know that he's super competent in the economic sphere.
Well, I think he's doing a bad job at selling it. That's my point.
He did come out and reverse Trump, where Trump said, well, I don't know, it's hard to tell if we'll have a recession. And this guy came out and said, no fucking way. We're never having a recession. What do you like? He gets
that was smart, I guess. Yeah, I give him, that was smart.
Look, as soon as you as soon as the president comes out and says, "Oh yeah, we're going to have a recession," the stock market is going to crater.
Crashes,
Like stocks go down when we have a recession because corporate profits go down. Nobody spends any money. They're all hoarding their money because they're scared of the outlook for the economy.
That is a good question. Why would Trump say that? Like he knows that. Why would he even say that? Why wouldn't he just do his normal self where he just is like, everything's going to be fantastic. It's going to be the best.
Because he can't run for a third term. Look, Destiny needs to take that bet that Trump is going to run for a third term. Because it's like, that's the best evidence right there.
Right.
That Trump is not going to run for a third term. Like he just doesn't give a fuck.
Interesting. Okay.
We need to have steel and aluminum domestically in America. In national security, you need metals to make bullets. You need metals to make munitions. You need metals to make everything. And Donald Trump is very focused on, let's make sure the key ingredients that are necessary to defend America are made here in America. And these other countries.
Why can't we have a strategic oil reserve for good reason. Why can't we have a strategic steel reserve and just only buy from American producers?
That's an interesting idea.
Yeah. Fucking buy it for 20% above market value. You're the fucking government. You print the money.
Yeah, but that's the whole point. Is you want to spend less money, right? Well, I guess that's not the whole point because obviously doing this will raise the price of everything. So it's kind of a mixed bag. But
yeah, well, raising prices, like I said, if money is moving around between private parties, it's not increasing the money supply. When the government does buy deficit spend, they do increase the money supply.
Right. That's not, I'm saying like, if yes, but like if you do, this, I like the idea of the U.S. saying we need a strategic steel reserve that will only buy from U.S. Steel or something, but if they spend a bunch of money on it, they have to print a bunch of money for that. So.
Yeah, I would have to think it through a little bit more, but I would be more in that direction because you will also attract American manufacturers, right? They're like, oh my God, we can sell to the Americans for 20% above market value. Right. I'm building my steel factory in America.
Right.
Where I get this giant perk.
They just don't pay attention. I mean, how many times do I have to say national security is important? And if you do like the EU and you respond by putting a tariff on Kentucky bourbon, which used to piss off Mitch McConnell, which doesn't really matter anymore, you got to wonder, really, do I have to deal with this stuff? But
yeah, dude, it's so weird because it is so off brand for Republicans. The Republicans are coming out and going, we need to get rid of all of this fucking regulation. This regulation is a drag on business. This regulation hurts business. Now you got to factor in tariffs all over the fucking world. Like, what the fuck?
Well, that's why I said, the MAGA movement, the populist right, it does not fit into that conventional slot of like pro big business Republican Party. And so this would be a time. That's why I thought that Cenk's suggestion that the Democrats should be coming up with all these sorts of subsidies that they want to cut, oil subsidies, corn subsidies, whatever, that they want to cut, that they should be like putting out there is like a good idea because it seems like now's the time to strike when the Republican Party is not, super pro big business.
Yeah, you got to talk about it now, at least get that stuff on the table. Instead, they're just whining.
So Lutnick's argument here is that the reason for the steel and aluminum tariffs are primarily for security purposes, right? Which, I mean, there's a sense to that. There's a logic to that. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Security, we put a tariff on steel and aluminum to make sure the dumping countries of the world stop and we can build up our steel and aluminum in America. And what does Canada do?
Okay. So again, he's just sort of reiterating this sort of security concern, but he kind of undermines himself here. And this is part of why I think he's not really the best advocate for these policies.
Well, I think this is what China actually does. That's why when they talk about dumping, I think the Chinese government basically subsidizes the steel production. So they get 50% of their income from the government, and then they can sell the steel for 50% less in America and undermine the American economy. I think that's literally what's going on. Yeah.
And so is the only point to do that just to undermine American businesses, or is there some other point to do that?
Well, they're doing it to bring American dollars into their company so that they can sell steel to America. They're doing it to undercut the American producers and sell more steel. Like the business move.
If that's an issue, and obviously with China, I could definitely see it being a big issue. We're afraid that we're going to have to come to blows with China. Maybe we're trying to.
Uh-oh, Sitch didn't plug in. Uh-oh.
Topics I need to have us make in America, and steel and aluminum is key. I mean, we all understand that. So why not allow the greatest country in the world, who completely feeds Canada? Canada exists, completely feeds off of the amazing economy of the United States of America. Let us build up our steel and aluminum so that we can protect ourselves. And by the way, we protect Canada. I think Canada's got 60 planes. Oh yeah, they're really going to protect themselves. They're the lowest investor in NATO.
I mean, this is, if push comes to shove and all the aluminum production is in Canada, are we really worried about Canada shutting us out? I mean, we could take over Canada in like a weekend. We just go there and get their factories and continue to produce the aluminum and steel. Is it really a national security interest? Look, I don't think Canada obviously would ever do anything like that. If the shit hit the fan, the Russians were invading on the East Coast, obviously Canada would be a partner in that endeavor, in that whatever war broke out from that. So it's impossible for me to imagine Canada being against us.
Totally rely on us, and yet they think they need to respond to steel and aluminum tariffs. I mean, everybody is so used to picking off America, so used to it that they can't even stop. Donald Trump is here to say we need to be treated fairly, and we need to be treated fairly now.
Do you think this approach, if you articulate this to the Canadians today, will help bring down the temperature?
I do. I think once you actually breathe and think steel and aluminum, America needs steel and aluminum. I mean, if you respond like the British didn't respond, the Mexicans didn't respond, you have some countries that actually thoughtfully examine how they do business with us. And then you have people like the Canadians who are in elections, so you have no idea. You think it's about a trade war. This is their way of getting election votes. And the EU, the EU is just so many years.
That's every democratic nation around the world. Obviously, they're going to use trade policy so that they can get elected. So Sitch dropped out of the stream. I don't know. Hopefully he comes back. We'll see what happens. Maybe his internet is down or something. Unfortunately, that would suck. But look, I can read some super chats while he's dilly-dallying around, I guess. Let's see if I can get some super chats up here. We've got Brian for $20 says, businesses might not want to uproot existing factories, but they might look to expand new factories in America to avoid the uncertainties. That's what European companies are doing, and it's possible others will do the same. Well, yeah, I totally agree. Like if they plan to build a new factory here, that would probably go a long way towards appeasing Donald Trump. I know Donald Trump is doing a bunch of pressers where he's bringing out people who are investing in America. They're spending $100 million to build some chip factory or something like that in Arizona. So that would probably be the move for them to come out and say, how about this? We'll build a factory over here in Tuscaloosa, and you don't hit us with the obscene tariff. That'd be a good move. Your Ray for $2 says Zelensky wrote a letter of apology of Trump. Probably to Trump you met, but really, that's recent? Yeah, I think the ball is in Putin's court on the Ukraine stuff. And I'm trying to do less Twitter. Twitter's kind of a waste of time. So I've probably spent too much time on Twitter, but I resisted. Now that the Trump administration has started engaging in intelligence sharing again and has said they're going to continue funding Ukraine, I resisted posting this on Twitter because I know a lot of the MAGA people are super probably chapped about that. So it looks like maybe Trump is going to be bullied into adopting the status quo. So it seems like we're back at the status quo and the ball is in Trump's or Putin's court as far as a peace deal goes. But I don't think Putin is going to bite. Trump is going to blame the failed peace agreement on Putin, and he's going to continue to fund and share intelligence with Ukraine in concert with the Europeans, who the freaking out stuff that Trump has been doing has actually been helpful in the European realm, because Europe is like, we need to get our shit together. We can't rely on the Americans forever. We got to grow up. We got to be adults. We got to do our own defense. So they're going to work that out pretty quick here. As quick as they can, obviously. The Red Dawn Batman, member for 18 months. Wow, getting pretty close to that 24-month mark. You get the gold pyramid. That'll be great. Hey guys, did you see that Daryl Cooper was on the Joe Rogan? And I'll say, oh my. Plus, did you see Brianna Greyjoy is back on Piers Morgan? Cheers. I didn't see Brianna Greyjoy, and I didn't see Daryl Cooper. I'm not even really sure who Daryl Cooper is. Who is Daryl Cooper? Is that someone I should know? Oh, Daryl Cooper. Is this the Hitler guy? Is this the guy who's making excuses for Hitler? I probably shouldn't say that in case it's not the guy. So, but if it is, wow. Now he's going to Joe Rogan. Ugh. Anyway, no excuses for Hitler. We don't want any excuses for Hitler in our chat. Tobin Russell.
I'm back.
Oh my God.
Can you hear me?
I almost finished the super chats. I
Okay.
didn't even come close. I only did 3 super chats.
Sorry, but I've been having brownouts recently. Whenever there's a brownout, the modem resets and gets all finicky. So
Well, you're in Florida, right? So that makes sense.
Yes. Does it?
Of course. It's like a third world country there.
Oh my God.
You got Republican rule on everything. So
Hey,
oh, you're gone again. There he goes. All right, I'll just go back to super chats here. That was fun while it lasted. So we got Tobin Russell for $5. You're saying all this like anything Trump would do wouldn't be framed as him making enemies by the Europeans, and like on purely a ideological basis.
wow,
I'm not sure.
it cut out again. What the heck's going on?
Oh, you're back. I only got through one super chat that time.
Oh.
Not really sure what you mean there, Tobin, but anyway, Tobin's got another super chat. We'll read that one in a little bit.
Did you watch the video at all?
Yeah, I watched a bunch of it. I'm way ahead.
The only thing I wanted to point out was just the part that you watched is like, so did you listen to the part where he was talking about how Canada relies on us for security?
Yeah, and I made the argument that it's pretty ridiculous to think that a steel and aluminum factory in Canada, like if the shit hits the fan and it's World War III, that we can't just fly some jets up there to Canada and take over that fucking steel factory, right? Oh no, Sitch is gone again. Holy fucking shit. I mean, we might just have to cut the live stream.
Right, no, but like, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
I don't know why I have no clue why keeps blinking in and out. It doesn't really make any sense.
I mean, maybe restart your computer or something. I can read some super chats. What do you do?
If it blinks out again, I'll restart my computer.
Okay.
But no, the point I want to make, if I don't get cut off again, was that I think it's hard to sell the argument that we need to have all this steel and aluminum in America for security reasons. And then at the same token, it's like, oh, the country that we get most of our steel and aluminum from is our physical neighbor, which relies on us for security. So it's not like they're going to betray us.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was saying. Like, they're never going to betray us. And even if they did, you know, they elect some fucking psychopath. We just go take over the fucking manufacturing plants.
Right.
Done.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. So
We'll crank them up to 200%.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't think this guy's the best advocate. And then he later talks about how, like, he accidentally says that Donald Trump is being emotional and that the other countries aren't respecting him, which is like,
what? Oh, play that part. You got it.
Okay. Yeah, I have a time code here.
Okay.
Let's see.
Oh my, what is there to respect about a guy who is just throwing shit at you for no reason?
Mm-hmm.
For no logical reason.
Okay, so the caster, he reads that Trump True Social post I read about the tariff.
Have you given the Europeans a warning on this? Have you given them a time limit to back away? Are you taking the same approach you did with the Canadians just a few days ago?
Well, I think the president has made it crystal clear that he finds this tit for tat really abusive and aggravating, right? His objective is steel and aluminum tariffs. Let him build his steel and aluminum business in America, because that's important. And then, you know, they say, okay, we're going to tax whiskey. And look, I find all this back and forth really off the topic. The key topic is rebalancing American trade. We're going to spend lots of time together, you know, but the president was totally annoyed that the Europeans did this. And so you're going to hear back from someone who emotionally cares about America. He cares about America, and he wants to take care of Americans. And why are Europeans picking on Kentucky bourbon
Secretary
or
Lutnick,
Harley Davidson motorcycles?
Are you saying this is an emotional response?
It's disrespectful.
Are you saying
She totally caught it.
I know, she totally caught it immediately. She's like, what?
She's like, what? How is that an advocate? Look, right now, this guy's probably getting bitched out by Trump. Why the fuck would you say that, you fucker?
I know. It's really
Make me
bad.
sound like a woman.
Yes. Yes.
is this
I'm saying
emotional
it's a
response, or
disrespectful
will we see 200% tariff?
But anyway, yeah. So, and I
The
think
woman
maybe it
is
was
like,
earlier.
emotional response, huh?
Yeah, the
Yeah,
woman picks up
bitch.
on it. Yes, right. Oh, actually, wait here. I think it's
And wine, champagne, and alcoholic products before April 2nd, when the president says is the big one, and we're going to get the reciprocal rollout.
Well, the joy of my job is that Donald Trump makes the decisions, right? And the people around him, we talk to him and we advise him. April 2nd is when we do reciprocal tariffs. And he's called out these products. He wants these countries to respect him. And all of this showed you is that Europe and Canada do not respect Donald Trump and do not respect America's ability to build its steel and aluminum industry.
that's such a bad way to frame it. Donald
What
Trump
a fucking
wants,
baby. Yeah.
I know. Donald Trump is being emotional, and he wants countries to respect him, and the countries are now showing they don't respect him. Like,
Who gives a fuck?
this is such a bad, and I'm not saying that that's Donald Trump's motivation, but Lutnick here is doing such a poor job being an advocate for the administration right now when he says, you know, when he frames things so poorly like that.
Yeah.
What a Lutnick, right? Doesn't that sound like something you'd call, like, it
Oh,
sounds like
yeah,
a
it
Yiddish
is.
term that you call, like, for like a dummy. Oh, he's a total
Sure.
Lutnick.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like a meathead,
Yeah, that'll me add.
a lug, a big
Right.
lug head, right?
A big
Lutnick.
Lutnick. Yeah. So, okay. Was there anything
Yeah.
else you want to talk about on the tariffs?
No, this is,
Okay.
I'm just, it's going to be funny to hear the spend continue, but I don't,
Right.
in terms of the economy, I keep thinking, what is the catalyst for turning this around, Sitch? What is it?
I don't know, because I mean the economy, obviously, as you're talking about, the stock market's going down. I believe the S&P dropped like 10%. You know, Stock market overall is just doing pretty poorly. It's going to continue to go down. Things were kind of overvalued anyway, so we probably hit the peak that we were going to hit.
Yeah.
But so is that, I mean, because the first term, Trump was very receptive to the stock market as like, a feather in his cap in terms of, look, I, made the economy really good. I made the stock market really good. Biden ruined the economy, ruined the stock market, blah, blah, blah. I don't know if that's going to have the same impact this time around.
He wanted to get reelected. So that was obviously the impetus there. Now he's not worried about getting reelected. And he also has a scapegoat. It's Biden. Because he constantly talks about Biden like he's his ex-wife or something. So if the economy crashes, he's going to blame it all on Biden. He's going to be like, oh, I tried to save it, but you fuckers voted for Biden. And obviously this is what happened.
Yeah. I mean,
that's going to be his play. I guarantee it.
Right. I mean, Trump does. I think Trump wants to end his second term so that he has like a good, he
legacy.
A good legacy. Yeah, that kind of upholds status of being I was a great 2-term president. There was, it would even be better if he's like, I had a first term and things were good. Then I got voted out and then Biden ruined everything. And then I came back, my triumphant return, and I made everything wonderful again. Right. So that'd be the fantastic legacy for him. So I do think he cares. He doesn't want the economy to just crash. So I think he definitely could be receptive to, it'd be difficult. Well, I guess it wouldn't be difficult. He could just he could just claim some kind of victory with these tariffs and then pull them all back and say, "Oh, we're getting Canada and Mexico to stop sending fentanyl," or whatever. You could frame it however you want to not look like you're running away from tariffs, even though obviously the left, the media on the left is going to beat him up for it.
Everyone in his administration though has a flat Earth view of the economy. So they're literally running around worried about sailing off the edge of the earth. So all the things that they're doing just seem completely retarded.
Right.
I don't see how they're going to overcome that. They're going to keep doing dumb shit. And then when that dumb shit turns out to be horrible for the economy, they're just going to be looking for a scapegoat because catalyst. I don't see a catalyst. I don't see a catalyst at all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't, they're too invested. The sunk cost fallacy is going to take over here. They're going to keep thinking, it's going to work. It's just going to take a couple years, couple 3 years, couple 4 years, couple 10 years. He's going to be out of office. This is not going to.
Right.
Yeah. And everyone around him, look, he's surrounded by yes men. All the yes men they're going to come in and they're going to sell it like this. Okay. It's difficult now. We fired 90% of the government. Okay. Hey, unemployment is through the roof. The stock market is cratered. Okay. But the victory is going to be just when you're out of office. You're going to be remembered as the next Reagan. People are going to look back at this. They're going to see you as FDR. They're going to say it was painful while he was in office, but ultimately it was for the best of the country. And that's the picture they're going to sell him, and he's probably going to believe it. I don't think that's going to be true, but that's what they're going to sell him.
We're going to trade roles here. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to defend Trump.
Oh my God.
I don't think Trump would fall for that. I think Trump is media savvy enough to be like, that's not going to work. People are going to judge me based on what's going on right now. They're not going to do this legacy, mind manipulation, and he's going to pull away from the stuff if it all starts to go south. Now, I don't know if he'll be able to fix it, but I think he's going to react to it.
So when the Lutnicks come in and try to sell this BS, he's going to be like, you're fired. Maybe. You could be right.
Yeah. I think he's not going to buy any of that shit.
This is so bizarre because 4 weeks ago, I was the one saying that, Sitch would say stuff and I'd be like, Trump has to be a moron to believe that. Fucking Sitch, I can't believe you'd say that. What do you think? This guy's smarter than that. And now I'm like, oh my God, Trump is a fucking moron. I need to readjust my thinking here.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah. Maybe, I could be biased because of the Ukraine stuff. So.
Right. Well, no, listen, It's interesting. One of us should just take the opposite side just for the fun of it, right?
Well, yeah, and for the audience obviously doesn't want to hear a bunch of us just fucking slapping each other on the back. Oh my God. Those people are listening to another show, right? They're listening to David
Sure.
Pakman. They just want to hear Trump sucks.
Right.
I mean, I don't. Maybe Trump gambled and failed on Ukraine. I mean, I just think that was such a catastrophic fuck up.
Mm-hmm. Well, we'll find out because obviously, and we're going to talk about that a little later, the whole ceasefire deal and what's going on there.
Right.
But before we move on to Ukraine, I want to talk about something that I think is very relevant to this tariff conversation, which is the impending government shutdown.
Right. Yeah.
I mean,
oh my God.
So it's very interesting because there's like a public battle and then there's a private behind the scenes battle that seems to be completely different. So I want to read you a couple things about both of that. So on the public front, this is from the Washington Post. It says Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer said Wednesday that Democrats would reject. So yesterday he said Democrats would reject a government funding bill that Republicans wrote and passed through the House, leaving it uncertain whether Congress can avert a government shutdown before Friday night's deadline.
That's crazy.
Okay. The House on Tuesday narrowly approved a continuing resolution to keep the government funded through the end of September. So that's the Republicans in the House want to keep the government, funded.
The debt ceiling is part of this negotiation too. We should say that. So.
Right. Though this isn't specifically the debt ceiling fight. This is just the normal.
It's not. It's not wrapped up in that though, because we're at the debt ceiling right now.
Right. It might be, but I'm saying it's not like not we're reaching the debt ceiling. We need to get rid of it or we need to push it forward. This is just like the normal budget, like to make sure the government has money. Quote. Chuck Schumer said, funding the government should be a bipartisan effort, but Republicans choose a partisan path, drafting their continuing resolution without any input from congressional Democrats. Because of that, Republicans do not have the votes in the Senate to invoke cloture on the House continuing resolution, Schumer said on the floor, calling for a 1-month funding bill that provides more time to negotiate a deal. Our caucus is unified on a clean April 11th continuing resolution that will keep the government open and give Congress time to negotiate bipartisan legislation that can pass. I hope our Republican colleagues will join us to avoid a shutdown on Friday. So essentially what's going on is that the House passed a budget that would keep the government funded for the next 6 months. There was zero input whatsoever from any Democrats. Obviously, they have enough votes in the House to pass it. They don't have enough votes to pass it in the Senate. Democrats are upset that they did not have any impact whatsoever on that budget. And so they're threatening to shut the government down by not passing this bill unless some sort of input in the budget going forward.
Yeah, that's crazy because it's completely reversed. Democrats are the ones shutting the government down now. So
Right. Okay, so that's like the front-facing thing. Schumer's making a lot of noise about shutting the government down. But here's an article from The Hill that's interesting. This is behind the scenes. They're saying something completely different is happening. Okay. Senate Democrats are saying privately that they will not allow the government to shut down on Saturday, despite growing pressure from activists and liberal lawmakers who want them to kill a GOP-crafted 6-month stopgap spending bill. Senate Democrat sources say that Democrat leader Chuck Schumer is giving plenty of room to centrist Democrats in his caucus to vote for the House-passed continuing resolution if doing so is the only way to avoid a government shutdown at week's end. And one Democrat senator familiar with the internal deliberations said Senate Democrats will ultimately vote to keep the government open, despite the rumblings of liberals within their caucus who are heaping scorn on the House-passed funding bill. Democrats familiar with the internal... Yeah, exactly. Democrats familiar with the internal deliberations say the maneuver is designed to save face. They say the Democrat leader is giving members of his caucus space to vote how they see fit on the House-passed bill, recognizing it's probably the only way to avoid a shutdown. Okay, so they're saying that Chuck Schumer is going to come out here, is going to, he's going to pound the podium, but then obviously behind the scenes, they're like, you can vote. They're saying that basically behind the scenes, there isn't pressure on Democrats who are in purple districts to essentially not just keep the government open, so that most likely they're suggesting that this would imply that that bill will pass and the government will not be shut down come Friday.
Right.
So now there's going to be a big debate because obviously what you're going to see is that if the Democrats don't do this, if they don't shut down the government on Friday, you're going to see a lot of commentators on the left are going to come out screaming that the Democrats suck. This is something that we've been seeing so far. And I think there's some truth to this. Some of it I don't agree with, in terms of the Democrats are, quote, not doing enough to fight back against Trump. They're just sitting there. They're letting Trump run all over them, blah, 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 blah. And you're going to see all these people are going to come out. They're going to come out screeching if the Democrats don't shut down the government. Probably. I don't agree with that take on the government shutdown. I think from a purely political standpoint, obviously there's a more like, people's lives are going to be impacted. Maybe people are need money or service or whatever. That's all boring. We don't care if people's lives are destroyed, right? No one cares about that. Let people's lives be destroyed. What's more important is the politics, right? That's what's actually important. So from a political perspective, personally, I think it'd be a huge mistake for the Democrats to shut down the government for a couple of reasons. Number one, whenever the government is shut down, the party that is, does the shutdown is usually the party that gets blamed politically. So it's a very risky maneuver. Whenever the Republicans do this government shutdown stuff, it usually always blows up in their face in the polling data. That's number one. But number two, it's a bad move because, as we were just talking about with the tariffs, and that's why I want to talk about this in regards to tariffs, you have this issue with all the tariffs and all this, Doge cutting government jobs, and the economy is kind of going south. And the Democrats, from a political standpoint, would want to heap that on Trump's head and make that entirely Trump's responsibility, 100%.
Yeah.
And if the Democrats say, oh, we're going to go do some kind of government shutdown thing, which is probably would affect the economy negatively and would cause it to go down, then, Trump's going to get a week, 2 weeks, a month, however long the fight goes, to basically point the finger and say, well, I didn't ruin the economy with tariffs. The Democrats ruined the economy with the government shutdown.
Yeah.
So from a completely like cold, cynical, not caring about, the actual reality on the ground situation, from a cold, cynical political perspective, I don't think it would make sense for the Democrats to do this. And I think that's probably why Chuck Schumer is just going to let the Democrats in purple states just, do whatever and vote for this.
Yeah, they would be taking part of the blame away from Trump if they vote in favor of. They're like, okay, the blame for the economy is completely on you. We went along with your policies.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, and I think that's even why, some of the Democrat people were saying just to roll over and let Trump do whatever and then, reap the consequences. So,
yeah.
Now, I sent you a tweet that I want to bring up that's in relation to this government shutdown.
Well, but is Schumer on the news saying that the Democrats are not going to support the government? Because I know, like, if he's saying that, they could possibly blame him even if they do end up supporting it in the end, because obviously people don't watch the news constantly. And this really freaks the people who are on disability, people on Social Security. They're the ones that get freaked out about it. They're like, oh my God, I'm not going to get my check at the beginning of the month.
He publicly said yesterday that there wouldn't be funding it. And then today it's kind of iffy.
Okay.
So I don't know I don't know if that's such a big deal. I think if the government shuts down or not is really whether
That's
people
what
care.
people look at. They got their eyes on the government shutdown, not what the Democrats are saying. That makes sense.
Yes. And I sent you this tweet. This I think is just totally retarded for the Democrats to do this. I don't know why they're doing this. I don't know who told them to do this. They've been doing things like this for the last month, and it looks so awful that whoever the fuck the Democrats are listening to, they need to fire because these people are retarded. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So Libs of TikTok actually has a compilation of like all these Democrats representatives who all just literally have the same tweet or X post, I should say, about why they're not voting or why they're voting against the budget. It's the same X post. They just copy and paste it and they'll just like repeat it.
Ouch. Why would they do that? They couldn't even change it up, reword it, paraphrase it.
Yeah, it's just literally they word for word. They say House Democrats stand united for a 4-week funding extension that stops harmful cuts, keeps government open, and allows Congress to reach a bipartisan funding agreement. I am ready to vote tomorrow, Friday, to pass a 4-week extension. Okay. And you see, out of this list, only one of them slightly changed up the wording. All the other ones just copy and paste it. So, or no, actually,
hilarious.
I guess a couple of them they very, very slightly change up the wording, but it's just it looks so bad we live in this time of, everyone's trying to appear to be authentic on social media. Everyone's trying to
Right.
appear to not be like an NPC or part of a bot swarm on social media. When you literally have elected representatives just coming out and like towing what appears to be the company line and acting like a bot, it like, who thought this was a good idea?
It
Who's
does. It
giving,
looks horrible.
yeah, who's giving these people advice? This is so stupid. This is fucking retarded.
Right. They're like, we got to stay on message. That's what the Republicans do. They're so good at it. We need to be good
Yes.
at it.
Yes, we all need to repeat same talking point exactly. Like normally the way this would work is you'd say, okay, here's like the idea. You guys go ask ChatGPT, right, to craft
To reword it.
unique reworded tweets about the concepts. Go. That's the thing. Back in the day, okay, all these people had to hire little writers, right, to go do it for them. Now you have ChatGPT for free. Okay.
Mhm.
Or you just pay whatever it costs a month to use ChatGPT and you have ChatGPT write the statement for you.
Yeah, of course.
Come on. What's going on
Write it
here?
up for me.
Terrible.
I don't want to sound like a bot. ChatGPT, how do I rewrite this so I don't sound like an artificial intelligence?
Exactly. So
Make it
I don't
sound
think
human, you robot.
I don't think. Yeah, exactly. So I don't think the government shutdown is going to come into effect on Friday.
Okay, well, that's
Tomorrow.
good. What's going on with the debt ceiling? I think the Fed is in extraordinary measures right now where they can't actually sell bonds because they've hit the debt ceiling. So
really?
they got a bunch of excess cash floating around in the economy. That's probably going to make inflation worse.
Mhm.
Isn't that interesting? Because the debt ceiling is it's technically not part of the deficit until it's turned into a treasury bond, right?
Right.
So if we hit the debt ceiling, that means they've sold as many treasury bonds as they can. But there's other ways that they can pay bills without dispensing treasury bonds.
Right.
They have some sort of extraordinary measures powers where I guess they can just pay cash on the future bond sales for as long as possible. But the problem is you're not taking the cash out. And the treasury statement, it's literally like tens of billions of dollars a day that they're spending, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So if you can spend $10 billion but you don't turn that $10 billion into treasury bonds, which sops up purchasing power in the economy, what happens? Inflation goes up.
Right.
So they don't want to raise the debt ceiling because they're worried about inflation, but these extraordinary measures are actually making inflation more prevalent. It's crazy.
I mean, it would be interesting if they're going to have to do it, but it is interesting because we've been hearing nonstop from the Republicans for, 10 years, 20 years about, of how dare you raise the debt ceiling.
Well, I think they were actually stupid enough to believe that they could cut $2 trillion out of the budget and not have to raise the debt ceiling.
Right.
And
you think they actually thought that?
This is what's so crazy. This is why I say they have a flat earth economics perspective, because they haven't come to the conclusion that the broad money supply is the debt, is the government overspending. Well, it's two parts. It's government overspending and it's loans. But like as soon as the economy starts tanking, the number of loans people take out are going to go down because people are going to stop doing economic activity. They're going to stop opening businesses. Who wants to open a business in a recession, right?
Mm-hmm.
So those loans are going to, I mean, they might not take loans. They might even miss payments on paying loans back, which would shrink the money supply. So, but as the economy grows, as you add more people, more factories, more businesses, more product, you need to expand the money supply, which means you're constantly going to have to raise the debt ceiling, right?
Right.
Like I think the debt is obviously too high now because we do have inflation. So curbing that is possible. Or, I mean, is prudent in the situation that we're in right now with inflation. But the idea that we could just stop raising the debt ceiling, like never expand the money supply again, ever, retarded. It's like the same idea that we could just We better watch out. If we try to sail to the new world, we're going to sail off the edge of the earth.
So apparently, according to Politico, House Republicans are trying to attach the debt ceiling hike. Both House Republicans and Donald Trump both want the debt ceiling raised. They want it raised with this continuing resolution or with a bill, a bill coming up soon, where Republicans in the Senate are saying that they don't want to raise the debt ceiling. And Thune says he doesn't believe he has the votes to raise the debt ceiling.
He's been trying to get the debt ceiling since before he came into office. I don't know if you remember, but they were.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Yeah. So, of course, he wants to get the debt ceiling dealt with. That's his biggest problem because it's his own fucking party that's stabbing him in the back. And look, Trump gets very upset when people disrespect him. So, how do you think he feels when his Republican Party won't fall in line? I mean, it's one thing when those fucking Canadians aren't going to fall in line, right? That's one level of disrespect.
Right.
But you've got Republicans coming out and disrespecting Donald like this. Oh my God. It's fucking over.
It says
this is why he's throwing so much power to Elon Musk, because he's like, please, Elon, just cut enough that I don't have to deal with the debt ceiling nonsense. It's never going to happen.
It's not going to happen. I mean, they should just get rid of the debt ceiling, but obviously that triggers people whenever.
Oh, they should. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
They definitely should get rid of the debt ceiling. Yes. Mint the coin.
Yeah. So, yeah, apparently, according to this article, it's saying that I think they tried to attach the debt ceiling to this bill, but they didn't because the Republicans in the Senate wouldn't vote for the bill then. So they're going to try to do it separately now.
I thought they'd at least try.
They were going to, but I guess the Thune told them not to do it or something. So they didn't.
I mean, a debt ceiling fight when you control both houses of Congress and the presidency, it looks like a clown show.
Right.
It's the same thing as the voting out of the speaker when they controlled everything, right?
Yes. Well, I mean, it's even worse. It's even worse. If the government's if the Republicans control all three branches of government and they default on themselves, it doesn't look good.
Oh my God.
Especially if the economy is like kind of shaky because of the tariff stuff. So
come build your factory over here. We just defaulted on our debt ceiling.
It's like,
look, and they keep talking about how we want to remain the world's reserve currency. Oh my God. That's such currency mismanagement if you don't even understand how monetary policy works.
Well, look at this. Josh Hawley. I'm surprised. Republican Josh Hawley did agree that he thinks they should just get rid of the debt ceiling altogether to avoid this exercise every few years. So,
well, the Republicans started this because they would take the debt ceiling as a hostage in every time it came up.
Yeah.
And they ended up getting something out of it. So it completely incentivized them to keep it and continue to do that.
Right. Interesting. Okay. Anything else on that before we move on to the next story?
No, move on. Let's do it.
Okay. Well, here, let me bring up that did I send it to you that clip, that Ethan Klein clip?
I don't think you did.
Okay, here, let me send it to you.
I did not see it in the.
Apparently, Ethan Klein has been sending spies out. It's kind of interesting. But actually, here
he's doing the gay ops.
He's doing the gay ops. But where did you read all the super chats? Where are you? I'll read them while you're.
I am on. Hold on, one sec. I did read down to. My God, what the fuck? What happened to the super chats? Now they all seem in a crazy order here. Oh, Tobin Russell for $10 is where I'm at. It's annoying that we're pretending doing anything other than a total capitulation to the Euros. Read that one.
It's annoying that we're pretending doing anything other than a totally capitulating to the Euros would lead to any other outcome. Same with the Dems. They'll disagree and boo regardless of what is done. Okay.
Yeah, but what is done will actually have an effect on the economy. It's either going to have a positive effect or a negative effect. So if you're doing, I mean, you shouldn't really be taking the Dems into account here. Yes, they are going to fucking shit on whatever you do. They look bad when they shit on what you do and it actually works. Then you can be like, look, you're deranged.
Yeah, but there's like this very weird framing that it's like, okay, if the economy is chugging along and our economy is kind of focused not on manufacturing, it's focused on other things, right? And obviously things, inflation was only a problem under COVID and all this other stuff. It's weird to frame it like, oh, we're capitulating to Europe when it's like, well, no. I mean, Americans want to, buy things at lower prices. They want the sort of environment that they're existing in right now, and threatening to basically upend all that to try to bring jobs back. You can do that, but it's going to be a very turbulent 4 years if you're going to kind of get involved in that. It has nothing to do with capitulating to Europe. It's basically saying, Americans are going to have to completely reconceptualize the prices of goods and services that they're used to in an effort to maybe, hopefully, bring jobs back in some way that would be beneficial in the long run. It's nothing to do with capitulating to Europe or not capitulating to Europe. I think that framing that people put out there is like a way to is the way to bias people into automatically siding with one way or the other. And I've said before, I don't know the answer to that question. Obviously from the short term, it's going to be very turbulent and it's going to be bad for the economy. In the long term, I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know if it's going to be better for the economy or not. So we'll have to see.
Yeah, look, if prices go up, 330 million Americans are going to pay higher prices. If you get 100,000 jobs, those 100,000 people are going to be like, well, I got a good job out of it. Even if I'm paying higher prices, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, the other 329 million people are going to be like, fuck this.
Mm-hmm. Kristen Brandon for $2 says, thoughts on Trump closing down the Department of Education? I think it's stupid. I don't care that much, but I think it's stupid. The Republicans have been the Republicans have been obsessed with the Department of Education for a very long time, which to me seems to be purely symbolic. There are things that Trump could do as president to reform the Department of Education, get rid of all the woke shit, which I'd be 100% in favor of, get rid of all the woke shit and all this other stuff. Beyond that, the Department of Education mostly just has very broad educational standards that they kind of say you have to, schools have to live up to, essentially. And then it's really the great majority of educational standards are produced by each state, and they have been always. So to me, it's this, I don't really care, but it just seems like it's a very symbolic thing. It doesn't seem to be a really actual, this is going to create massively good policy outcomes beyond eliminating woke stuff, which I think you could do without that. And in fact, you might have a better chance eliminating woke stuff in schools if you had the Department of Education become anti-woke, in the same way that Biden was kind of using the Department of Education to force colleges specifically
to be
or
woke,
schools, that were getting federal funding to accept woke stuff. I don't know why Trump wouldn't just do the opposite of that and say, okay, we're going to take away your funding unless you, get rid of all the woke stuff, which he's done in other areas of the government, which I completely applaud. So,
yeah, I would. It's an incentive thing. I think most of the education dollars come from the local community, but some percentage comes from the federal government that the schools obviously want. So they can say, if you're going to do illegal shit like prayer in public schools or something like that, they have some leverage over them to cut their federal funding. So you're basically just undercutting that ability. So, but maybe they don't care. Maybe they don't care if prayer comes back to public schools. So
yeah, but they should care if there's schools in California or blue states that are doing a bunch of, making everyone learn critical race theory.
Of course. Yeah.
Or some other,
I'm with you.
thing,
I think your policy is a better policy, but and the counter argument will be, well, as soon as the Democrats come in, they're going to whipsaw it back to being full woke and critical race theory. And
well, they can do that anyway. Anything Trump does, the next Democrat president can just undo again. It doesn't you know, unless you pass legislation. That's kind of why this whole doing all this stuff by government, by the president is not the best way to do it. It's better to pass law because it's much harder for the next administration to just undo the law. So.
Yeah, he goes around and he complains. He says we spend the most amount of money and we have the worst outcomes, which sucks, right? But
yes.
So if you're going to cut the funding, you think you're going to get better outcomes? Maybe. Okay, we'll take a look.
I don't think so. But
yeah.
Ryan Wolf for $10 says Putin says he's in favor of the ceasefire, but wants security guarantees. Doesn't want Ukraine to regroup during the ceasefire, and seems to want the Kursk region surrendered. Talks still ongoing. That is true. And we're going to talk about that in a little bit. Brian for $20 says, thank you. Says businesses might not want to uproot existing factories, but they might look to expand new factories in America to avoid uncertainties. That's what European companies are doing, and it's possible others will do it. That's possible. Obviously, it's possible. But again, if that's the goal, I really think Trump needs to lay out and say, these are the tariffs we want. They're going to be long-term. Here's our plan for how they're going to be long-term. He can even point to say, like, listen, you know, he passed some tariffs in his first term and Biden continued them. So he could even pass that and say, you know, it's not going to get overturned by a Democrat president. I just feel like this stuff needs to be sort of laid out in a plan in a more thoughtful manner. If the goal is really to bring jobs back to America, right? It seems like the goal really, at least the way Trump's acting, is just to sort of short-term try to force other countries into doing things, whether it be to get rid of their own tariffs or whether it be to sort of, you know, get them to crack down on immigration or drug trade or drug trafficking or whatever. It doesn't seem to be based around bringing jobs back to America, at least on what the outcome would be from that. Ryan Wolf for $5 says Trump jumped too soon on the tariffs. He needs to have them in his back pocket when negotiating new trade deals. Too late now. You got to stick to it. Yeah, maybe. Sir Host of Liver for 100 Kazarkazark says Trump is upsetting markets, threatening allies, and cutting security programs. What a long-term thinking enlightened super genius. The Real Holtzner for 7 months says you should play Shadow Empire. You love it. You need to balance your decisions between the needs of your country and the desires of your cabinet. Oh, that does sound interesting.
Wow.
Shadow Empire.
Sounds like they got some selectorate theory going there.
Real Holtzner for $5 says it's $10 on GOG. Arch did a tutorial playthrough. There you go.
Sweet.
The Real Holtzner for $2 says, doesn't China also sell us crap steel? Yeah, that was maybe. That was the accusation, obviously, that Trump was levying at them. If that's true, if that's true, as I said, 100% tariff China to prevent U.S. companies from buying their crap steel if it's a problem. So Brian for $5 says, you poking fun at people who are against Ukraine was so funny, though. I'm glad you liked it.
Yeah. Well, I said, I think you might have been gone when I was talking about me wanting to post that Trump was resuming intelligence sharing and funding for Ukraine just to like trigger the MAGA people on Twitter because they were like, so this is great. Look, he's keeping his promise. And I'm like, oops, he was keeping his promise.
Right.
We might. It's funny because I did say he'd be bullied into the status quo. Right now I'm winning, right? We are in the status quo position, correct?
Well, I don't know because I would say offering a ceasefire to Russia is not the status quo.
Okay.
Right. Now, if Russia doesn't take it, then yes, we're back in the status quo.
Okay.
Right.
Well, right now it's looking like they're not going to take it. So I think right now I'm in leading the pack.
You feel pretty confident, right?
Well, I think we are in the status quo. We're funding them. We're sharing intelligence. I mean, we're in a better position in the fact that Europe is like, fuck, we need to get our shit together. So that's good. But I don't think Putin is going to agree to anything. So I think we are going to, in the end, be in the status quo position.
You're probably right.
I don't disagree. Of bullying.
Well, I don't know if Trump can just, or I guess I don't know if maybe it's a soft disagree. I don't know if Trump can, the way he's positioned himself, I don't know if he can just throw up his hands and say, we're going to keep doing what we're doing. I mean, do you think he's going to say, okay, we're going to increase military aid to Ukraine if Russia doesn't agree to a ceasefire?
That's a good question. Because you'd have to be weighing how angry he is that Putin screwed him versus how angry the MAGA people are going to be that he's even doing anything. Right? Those are the two forces. Right. It's exactly like, what is this? Shadow Empire?
Right.
That's exactly what he's trying to do.
Well, and then you also have, Putin thinking like, okay, he's gonna try to anticipate Trump's next move. He obviously doesn't want the US to be more involved. Maybe it's better. Okay, here we go. Maybe it's better. Here's your thought process. Maybe it's better for Putin. He's going to agree to the ceasefire deal, but then they're going to set up a false flag attack on themselves and claim Ukraine did it and violated the ceasefire.
Oh, really?
Isn't that like the 10D chess move?
For Putin, right?
Right, for Putin, yeah.
Yeah, of course, yeah. Oh my God, if he does that, and Trump falls for it, awful.
Well, it's not he doesn't need Trump to fall for it. It's more just to create that sort of uncertainty in the base in America where they say, oh, well, this is why we shouldn't support Ukraine because, look, they violated the ceasefire, right? Mm-hmm. And everyone's going to believe what they want. Like, obviously, the pro-Ukraine side are going to say it's a false flag. The pro or the anti-Ukraine side are going to say it's not a false flag. Like, everyone's just going to believe what they're preconceived to believe.
And Trump is going to withdraw support. I still think if Trump,
I don't know if he's going to withdraw support, but it would make it easier to either maintain the make it easier to withdraw support or maintain the status quo as opposed to doubling down and sending more military. If Putin outright just tells Trump to, fuck off.
Doesn't that make it harder to maintain the status quo if Ukraine does something belligerent like that? Obviously, it's a false flag. But everyone will believe that Ukraine did the belligerent thing. That's going to be harder for him to maintain the status quo because everyone is like saying Ukraine is corrupt and all this shit.
Well, but it's going to be a fight in America. Half the country is going to say it was a false flag. Half is going to say it was real. So it's going to be uncertain.
Right. But with his base, it's going to be certain. With Trump's base, it's going to be certain that Ukraine was belligerent. So it's going to be harder for him to maintain the status quo.
So I guess, my prediction is either Putin's going to say no, or if he does say yes, you're going to expect to see a false flag attack in the next 30 days. Yeah.
Well, that's good.
My guess.
Not good, but it's interesting detail that you're adding to the thing. We can check and see if that actually happens.
Eric Diota for 10 Canadian says, we, Canada, have been one of your greatest neighbors, but your president threatens our sovereignty along with tariffs. I want to keep that positive relationship, but he's not making it easy. Yeah, I don't think attacking Canada makes sense. It doesn't make sense to me from this perspective.
We love our Canadian brothers. We
like to mess with them, like as a troll.
Exactly. We like ribbing. No one's disrespected Canada as much as Sitch and I have. So but it's all in good fun, out of love. Right?
Okay.
We're not trying to tariff you. I guess, look, if you wanted to become the 51st state, it would be much easier for me shipping comics. You'd be in America.
Right.
And those fucking international forums are killing me. So I wonder if you actually, do you guys get the international forums? I have to put like a invoice with 3 forms on each package that goes out to Canada. It's a huge pain in the ass. And I wonder if the Canadian comic receivers even see those forms, or they're just
that's a good question. Or does it just go to the government?
Yeah, they just trashed at customs.
Joey Hollywood Films for $20. Thank you so much. Says, hey guys, love the comic. Seeing your success after a long production has re-inspired me to push forward on my project after $10,000 and years of doubt. Thanks for the motivation. I'm aiming to finish filming by August. S-Class for the win. Well, that's great. Look at that.
Nice. You doing a little short or something? That's great.
That's super cool.
I did a short, Social Justice Detective. It's on my channel, so check it out. Shorts are fun to do. I used to do a lot all the time, but I hardly do anything anymore.
Fun to do, but they are very difficult. Someone who's
lots of work. Yes,
a lot of work goes into these things. Yeah. Brian for another $20. Thank you. Says, I don't think saying tariffs cause inflation is correct. Tariffs are a tax. Taxes are deflationary. Friedman's quote on inflation is a good way to distinguish higher prices due to taxes and inflation. You're Yeah, I guess you're technically correct. I'm just saying, I guess what you should say is it will raise prices, so people will feel as if it's an inflationary effect. So
Right. Yeah. No, I agree. Tax is deflationary. Glad to see you're agreeing with that.
okay.
But the thing is, just because the money supply is shrinking doesn't necessarily mean each product has its own input costs. And if the input costs go up on one product, obviously the price is going to go up on that one product, irregardless of whether or not the money supply is growing or shrinking.
Right.
Yeah, you get that.
Okay. Bring up. So let's move on. Let's bring up this tweet here. So this is a pretty interesting thing. So we talked about the other day, Ethan, has, was in this drama where people were calling child protective services on Ethan Klein to try to get his children removed from his house using fake stories about the house being gross and his children being infected with viruses, et cetera, et cetera. And supposedly this YouTuber, Bad Empanada, had said that he's the one that did it specifically. And
Right.
so this video here, this is Ethan, I guess, talking about retaliating against that action.
So we got 1 minute and 21 seconds here.
Yes.
You ready to rock and roll?
Yes.
3, 2, 1, go.
But he did a video like, there's so much, dude, to say about him. It's kind of insane. In fact, Bad Empanada, I didn't get to it in the video, but you're not going to be happy to know this, but people have infiltrated he has a Patreon, a Patreon for people, sorry, a Discord for Patreon members. And they all have access to this place where they do they literally talk about doing psyops, faking posts, brigading, and all this shit. And I have 4 years of all of his chats. There's stuff in there that will put him in prison. I'm not even fucking kidding. Like, he is a straight up. And so going through this, I was trying to figure out what to do with it. And I think the best thing is just to release it to the public. And the amount of creators that he has psyoped in there, that he's participating in brigading, clandestine operations to fucking ruin these people, to just terrorize these people is staggering. I think if I just release it to the public, people will every community should look through that and just see the fucking depths of evil that this guy is. Because this guy's been going on a victory tour since October 7th. He's getting promoted by everybody. He's getting promoted by Denims, from Frogan, from Mike from PA, from Denims. Hassan has been watching him religiously.
So if you're a content creator, don't do a line of cocaine right before you start your podcast. Okay?
I was gonna apologize. I forgot. There's a lot of sniffing going on in this clip. Yeah, I knew it was gonna set you off. Yes. Save
that for after your podcast is over. Okay, that's the time to celebrate with the cocaine. Okay.
Right. I'm assuming he's sick, but yes.
Okay. That wasn't true what I was saying?
I don't think he did.
Comedy. Right.
But so this is kind of interesting. So this idea that Ethan has sent his spies out into the discords of Bad Empanada and is claiming he's doing illegal things and is going to leak all this stuff. So there could be some juicy drama treasure trove coming within the coming weeks. So we all get to learn what kind of crazy psyops he's accusing Bad Empanada of being involved in. So
I'm just assuming that this kind of stuff takes place in 90% of Discord servers. So.
Right.
Where's the clean Discord server?
Okay. So I just thought that was a fun little story. Yeah. Now let's talk about Ukraine. Okay. I sent you a tweet that you can bring up. That's really just a picture, which is kind of interesting. So there's this weird story where Putin did a photo op today where he was wearing military camo gear.
Right. Look at this.
And apparently he's never worn a military outfit for the entire time that the invasion has happened in Ukraine until today. So people are saying, okay, this is obviously some kind of photo op retaliation to the ceasefire agreement, is to have Putin come out wearing this military garb, which he hasn't worn before. It's kind of interesting.
I mean, I'm fascinated by that map he's got in front of him. Is that like a line right down the middle of Ukraine?
Yeah, there it is. Yeah, exactly. Right. That's the cutoff. He's like, this is the map I want you to sell to Zelensky.
Got a bunch of handwritten notes on the back of the thing as well.
Right. Okay. So first, after the ceasefire agreement was put out, the first response we heard was not actually from Putin. It was from Yuri Ushakov, who is a presidential aide to Putin, who made it sound like that Putin was not in favor of a ceasefire. That was the first thing we heard. And a lot of people were quick to report that Putin had turned down the ceasefire based on what his aide said. But now new reporting has come out where Russian President Vladimir Putin on Thursday has said Russia agrees in principle, with a U.S.-led ceasefire plan backed by Ukraine earlier this week, but has stopped short of signing up to any deal, arguing that it needed further negotiation and must lead to an enduring peace. Quote, the idea of a ceasefire itself is correct, and we are certainly supporting it, but there are issues that need to be discussed. I think we need to talk to our American colleagues and partners, maybe call President Trump and discuss it together, but we support the very idea of ending this conflict through peaceful means, Putin said, according to an NBC translation.
This guy is such a clever fucker, man.
Mm-hmm. Why do you say that?
Because he's look, that statement is exactly what Trump wants to hear. How's it not?
You're correct. You are 100% correct.
Dude, he's a fucking Trump whisperer.
Right.
Oh my God, yes, we want peace so badly. But we want to make sure that it's an enduring peace that lasts forever and ever and ever. Oh God. So Trump can get his Nobel Peace Prize. We have to make sure that this is absolutely perfect for my good friend Donald Trump.
Right. Right.
Do you believe any of this shit?
No, I know, obviously not. So, well, what I read from this is that he's going to try to call Trump and, sweet talk him into saying, yeah, we'll agree to ceasefire if there's some like completely ridiculous deal. Because one of the things that Putin said he was worried about, which makes sense to worry about, is he's worried about the ceasefire will give Ukraine 30 days to get weapons and train, new units and all this stuff.
Yeah,
and so
pour over the intelligence.
Right. And so obviously neither side wants the other side to be able to use the 30 days to rearm themselves. Can't really stop Russia from doing that. But I'm wondering if Putin's going to try to somehow worm tongue Trump into like, oh yeah, we'll agree to the ceasefire, but only if you don't give Ukraine any military aid for 30 days, which I think Putin's going to try to sell that. I don't think Trump is going to agree to that because that would just be absurd.
Right.
That would be just so obviously stupid. I don't think Trump's going to agree to any of that whatsoever. So I am curious to see how, now that Putin has said that publicly, I'm curious to see, because that makes me think more in line with what you're saying, which is that that Putin would not agree to the ceasefire because he's going to ask for some kind of security guarantee, which I don't think Trump could ever possibly give him.
Putin wants a security guarantee from the U.S. He wants a security guarantee too.
Yeah, he would want the security guarantee probably. Okay. That we wouldn't give Ukraine any additional military aid for that 30-day ceasefire period. That's what he's gonna probably try to ask Trump on the phone when he talks to him. Right. And I don't think Trump's gonna give him that because that would be retarded.
There is some defensive missile system that the Americans have exclusively that is super essential to Ukraine. There is also the intelligence sharing, which is the intelligence from inside Russia. I've been watching a bunch of these videos, and it seems like Ukraine is doing a pretty good job of developing their own drone delivery systems for munitions and stuff like that, which is so even if Americans don't, say we're not going to give them any more arms, they're still going to be cranking out those fucking drones. Right. We have 30-day production of drones. As soon as the ceasefire ends, they're going to be like, Moscow, click.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know.
It says that Ukraine has 6 of the American Patriot missile defense systems that you're talking
Correct.
about.
Yeah, there you go.
Right. That they use to protect their major cities from getting hit
From
by
incoming
Russian
stuff.
missiles.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
But the drones, the stuff that they're sending out to Moscow, remember they just did a big attack on Moscow? That stuff they seem to be creating in country on their own without us.
Well, Ukraine's going to try to set itself up so that if the war actually comes to an end, they're going to want to be a major drone producer because they basically force into it for the entire world.
Of
so it would
course.
give US and Europe an alternative to buying drones from China, which why the fuck would you want to buy drones from China? So
This is what Zelensky offered Trump in the White House. He said, look, we have the best drone technology on the planet. We've been using them for 3 years. I don't know if you saw any of the interviews with Eric Prince too, because Eric Prince was talking about how these drones just completely change everything. They make tanks like practically useless because you can I guess what were the big missiles that Trump was bragging about giving them?
The javelins?
The javelins, yeah. So those javelins, I think, are $150,000 a shot. God, exactly. You're like, here's a house.
So, but shooting a house at a tank.
But the equivalent of a javelin is like these drones, and these drones are like $2,000. So you're taking $150,000 of bang down to $2,000.
Right.
This is why they can launch so many of them, and know only 10% of them are going to get through the countermeasures. So, yeah, it's definitely changed a lot.
Right. Well, I think that's why there's been so much stalemating. That's my understanding. Why there's been a lot of slow pace, of getting stuff back is that you just have the drones essentially make it impossible or very difficult for either side to really push forward. So
they have a drone that drops mines in the field. So if they see on the intelligence sharing that there's a line of tanks coming, they just send these little tiny drones out that are dirt cheap, and they lay down a bunch of field mines, and the tanks can't pass. So it's fucking crazy.
Right.
So yeah, look, Putin's in his military duds there, looking at a map of Ukraine. It looks like, is that Ukraine?
It looks like it, but it's hard
is that
to tell
the front line he's looking at?
No, it's Germany. It's the east-west split of Germany. Okay, he's looking back at the olden days.
Yeah.
So
I think Putin has Trump's number. So Putin is a slick guy. He's going to say exactly what Trump wants to hear.
He is. I'm confident, though. I'm confident that Trump's not going to agree to some kind of ridiculous ceasefire deal or try to pressure Ukraine into some kind of ridiculous ceasefire deal.
We have completely reversed positions. It's funny.
I know.
It is funny. Like, Trump is not that dumb, Adam. Of course he's not going to fall for it.
My judgment isn't necessarily, isn't based on Trump being smart or dumb. I think he just has a very short-term thinking. So I think he's like, okay, I want this deal with Ukraine. So I'm going to basically fire all cylinders on pressuring Ukraine into doing the deal. And it's like, okay, now once we're on the same page, he's just going to move on from that. And now he's like, okay, now I'm going to focus on Russia. Like, it's not like most presidents and stuff when they're talking about foreign policy, they're all thinking like, oh, well, I can't go fire full cylinder on Ukraine to get them to sign the ceasefire deal because then it's going to have some, effects down the road, blah, 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 blah. Like, I just don't think Trump thinks that way at all.
I don't know. I don't know the conversations he's having with Putin, but if you tell Putin, okay, I'm going to force Ukraine to the peace table, to the negotiation table. You tell that to Putin. I mean, wouldn't you say, don't hit Ukraine while I do that? Don't be sure not to pound the shit out of him while I'm pressuring him, right? You let me do the dirty work here.
I don't think he would say that so directly. Right? Like, he might kind of like try to imply that. I don't think he would just flatly say like, hey, Poots, bro, I'm going to pressure Ukraine to the table, so you got to chill. Like, I don't think that's going to be said directly.
Right. Okay.
And also, like, Putin had to have been. I mean, the reason why I guess I kind of vacillating between Putin accepting versus Putin not accepting the deal versus Putin accepting and then doing false flags, because I mean, Putin had to have anticipated. He knew this was coming. He's been having these talks with Trump, even before Ukraine. He knew that this deal was going to, some kind of ceasefire deal was going to be offered. So he had to have some kind of anticipation for this and some kind of plan for this.
Yeah, but I think Putin is talking to Trump saying, "Oh, Zelensky hates my guts. There's no way he's going to accept peace. He's the stubborn one in this relationship. All I want is peace. I want the war to be over. I'm worried that they're going to come in and attack us."
No, I'm sure he's saying that, but then Putin is smart enough to be like, he needs some kind of plan. If Zelensky agrees to whatever, a ceasefire deal or a peace deal or whatever, he has to have something to respond
Right.
to that.
Yeah.
And I guess the question is, to me, if Putin just says no, it's a clear signal that he's not really threatened by Trump at all. And he's just calling his bluff. If he says yes, then to me, that would show that he is afraid that Trump is going to do something such as increase military equipment to Ukraine.
Well, that's interesting.
With sanctions.
That's a good read. Yeah, I think, I mean, we have evidence of how Putin reacted in the previous peace talks. Zelensky said when they were working out these various accords that Putin obviously was completely disinterested in the details of any of them because he knew he wasn't really going to abide by any of them anyway. So I'm thinking there's going to be a similar situation here where the Americans are going to be focused on details, and he's just going to be like, "Oh yeah, this is great. I love it. Oh yeah.
Right.
Perfect." I don't think Putin wants to be told what to do. Putin doesn't want to feel like he's being forced into anything. Yeah.
Right.
Funny that Trump kind of is the same way, isn't he?
Of course.
Yeah.
So I guess it'll be interesting. I think we're going to find out in the coming days. Is Putin afraid of Trump, or is he not afraid of Trump?
Based
I think that's what we're
on
going to find out.
whether he gives a big no or yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Whether he just flat out dismisses Trump or shines him on.
Right.
I can't see him not shining him on. That seems to be his modus operandi. I would put money on shining him on.
What it seems like the way that Putin operates is he basically, he'll shine on as long as he possibly can, but then he just says, at some point, he's going to say, "Fuck you," and just, roll the tanks in. He's going to just do what he wants, right?
Right.
He's going to try to shine you on as long as possible, but then eventually you'll reach a point where he doesn't feel like he can do that anymore, and he's just going to reveal his hand and that he's been trying to stab you in the back the whole time.
Right.
So.
Fascinating.
Okay. The last story, I guess, talk about is everyone's talking about this kid, Mahmoud Khalil. Do you know about this kid?
I do. Yeah. He's a big terrorist sympathizer.
Wow. Adam's coming out hard on Mahmoud Khalil.
Yeah. Mahmoud needs to move on.
So the Trump administration basically arrested this kid, Mahmoud Khalil, who was a student at Columbia University, I believe. And he was heavily involved with a lot of the protests. We talked about it last year. There's all the, the tents, the tent cities, the people, the protesters occupying the buildings, all that stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so he was involved with that. It says apparently he was the lead negotiator representing the student protesters at the Gaza Solidarity Encampment to Columbia.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
The big
and he
dog.
was part, yeah, exactly. And he was part of the student group behind the encampment, which was the Columbia University Apartheid Divestment, or the CUAD. And they had, all that stuff. Khalil was born in Palestine, was raised in Syria, and he has a green card. Okay. So that means that he would be a permanent, he's still an alien under law, but he's a permanent resident in the United States with his green card.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So now the Trump administration basically arrested him and is going to deport him. They're saying they're going to deport him. And so everyone's
Right.
up in arms about the conversation. And it's interesting to me because it seems like the big debate online is this is an infringement on the First Amendment. This is an infringement on free speech. And that seems to be kind of the way that everyone's focusing on it. And then it kind of goes into this further argument about, well, do green card, individuals with green cards even have First Amendment rights? Which, I mean, spoiler, they do. People that are visiting America have free speech rights and things like that nature. So that's like kind of the whole conversation. To me, it's not really about the First Amendment at all. Because to me, it's like, okay, if this kid is just, on a college campus and he's holding a sign in some kind of area that you're allowed to protest and whatever, and the Trump administration says, how dare you protest against Israel, or how dare you even say something like you want Israel to be destroyed? You're not, you can't say something like that, even though you can, and we're going to deport you. To me, that's a completely different conversation if that's what happened. But that's not really what happened. What happened was that this kid was involved with these, the tent city or the tent camp thing, the being involved with the students who are trying to live in the building and all this other stuff, which was, I mean, that's all illegal behavior. You're not allowed to do any of those activities. And so to me, this isn't really a First Amendment question at all. It's really a due process question. I believe the argument, which is that if the Trump administration just tries to deport this kid without going through the process of going to court, proving that he did something that violates the law or violates the terms of his green card, then I'm 100% against that. That's obviously crazy. The president can't just unilaterally deport people with green cards without actually going through the process and having their day in court the way U.S. citizens would have their day in court if they're accused of crime. You have to do that. So to me, it's really a due process issue. It's not just a First Amendment issue.
Yeah, look, I agree with everything you're saying. The left often does this. They're like, we called your work and lied to your boss and got you fired. That's free speech.
Right.
No, that's fucking stalking, you moron. Like if he's done something antagonistic to other students, like get him on that. Yeah.
Right.
But the left is completely going to claim it's a free speech issue no matter what, right? They think vandalizing Teslas is a free speech issue, right? Look, I have the right to write whatever I want on your Tesla.
Mm-hmm.
So yes.
That's my take on it. I don't know why to me, it's weird. Everyone's focusing on the First Amendment thing. I mean, I guess not weird because that's, as you're saying, that's like the obvious
That's the excuse. Yes.
That's the excuse, right? Because if he's not involved in doing anything illegal, like taking over buildings or something, then he's just saying bad things about Israel, then okay, that's free speech. If he is involved in taking over buildings and doing things that are illegal and, causing disruptions on college campuses and trespassing and doing all this shit, well, I mean, you shouldn't really be doing that. I should be doing that if you're a citizen. And you definitely shouldn't be doing that if you're not a citizen. So,
do we know what they're going after him for?
So I believe what they're going after him for, what the administration says they're going after him for, is actually they're saying that he supports terrorism.
Right.
Okay. Which I think will be harder to prove. And this is based on a couple of comments not that he made, but I think some organization he's a part of has made some kind of comments in favor of, supposedly, I haven't seen the comments myself, I've just seen people talk about it. Supposedly, he's part of an organization that made comments in favor of Hamas or in favor of October 7th or something to that effect.
Well, if he's inciting violence, obviously that's not.
Yes.
That's
right.
where they can get him on. It's a speech thing, but they're on the firmest ground, exactly like you laid out. If they get him on something like trespassing or threatening other students, right?
Right now they're trying to get him on being somehow associated with being supporter of terrorism is what they're trying to get him on right now.
Okay.
Which I think is probably more difficult for them to prove in court.
Especially if he's just supporting it with speech. Because then there is kind of this gray area there. Is he inciting violence because he's supporting a terrorist organization?
Right.
Is it free speech to support terrorist organizations, even though you're not specifically advocating for violence?
Now,
I mean, obviously, this will be in court.
Now, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think this all just, to me, due process. This should all have to be proven in court, shown in court. Personally, I think if you are have a green card and you're in America and you're going around on college campuses literally supporting Hamas, which I don't know if he's doing, but I'm saying theoretically, hypothetically, if you're supporting Hamas and you're supporting October 7th, I think you should be deported from this country, 100%. I don't think we should be having people living in this country who are not citizens of this country that are supporting terrorist activity, like direct terrorist activities. Not even like, oh, is it a terrorist? We don't know. Like, no, just supporting, if it's blatant supporting of Hamas October 7th and all that shit, like, get rid of them.
Right. You'd think we had some sort of authority over just revoking the green card, right?
We do, or the country does. Yes, the country does have authority to do so. But again, as I said, it has to go through a process to make sure that, like, the government can't just do it. It has to the government has to prove their case, which I think everyone should be in favor of the government having to prove their case.
Well, what is the list of, I guess you can revoke the green card if someone does anything illegal. I guess that's the line.
Well, I think they can even, I believe they can deport people well, it depends. I guess it depends how it's described in terms of like supporting terrorist activity. What does that mean? So there might actually be a lesser criteria for non-citizens to be, deported than there are for a citizen to go to jail or something.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. So it's not necessarily illegal, but it's just like, this guy's a dick and we don't like him.
Exactly.
We reserve the right to refuse service to anyone for any reason. It should say that right on the green card, right?
Because my understanding is, I could be wrong, but my understanding is that as an American citizen, you can stand up there and say that, people should be, starting a revolution to overthrow the government. I don't think you can. I think if you say that as an alien, a non-citizen, even with a green card, you can be deported for saying the same thing.
Right. Now, does this go along with the $5 million green card?
That's a good question. That's a great question.
If I paid $5 million for my green card, I can say whatever the fuck I want, right?
I think Trump should make sure in their $5 million gold cards of the green card that the same rules apply, that you cannot support overthrowing the United States government.
One of our fans said they're in Australia and they tried to do a similar thing in Australia, and all they got was Chinese communist spies for the $5 million who came in and they were like, China #1. Yeah, that's immediately where my gut reaction went to the $5 million green card. It's like, oh my God, really? Aren't you just inviting spies? The government has $5 million.
I mean, listen, I trust the government's ability. Maybe people laugh whenever I say I trust the government. I trust the government's ability under Donald Trump to be able to offer the $5 million gold card and do sufficient levels of background checks to make sure they're not just giving a bunch of Chinese spies, gold cards. Because obviously you're right. It's going to be like not primarily, but it's going to be a big rush of people that are spies that try to do this. So
of course, look, if China offered that to us, the CIA would be all over that. And I think the CIA could probably pass a background check, right? They'd be like, oh, we need some deep cover bitches for this, but we're going in hard.
Right.
Because you'd be at Mar-a-Lago every other night, right? You're coming in on the $5 million visa. How is Trump not going to invite you into his home? That's a rich target there. Okay, $5 million. Why don't I give 10 million? Did I mention how much Melania coin I purchased?
Well, that's the issue. This kid that's going to get deported, he really should have spent some money in Melania coin.
Oh, he's trying to buy it right now. He's like, God, I got to get my Melania coin. Holy shit. Where's my Coinbase account?
I sent you a picture. This is from the Instagram account. I don't know what the date is, but this is from the Instagram account of that organization that kid is part of.
Oh no.
Okay.
Oh, this has
Now
to be
he didn't say
horrible.
this personally.
Mhm.
He didn't say this personally, but this is from their Instagram account. So the government would, I guess, have to make the argument that him being a representative of this organization means that their statements apply to him
Right.
to such an effect that he could be deported. Which, honestly, I think that's going to be a tough sell in an immigration court, but we'll see.
Well, does he have access to the? They could check
I don't know.
IP
Actually, that's a
and
good
stuff.
question. Yeah, like if he had personal access. I
If
don't
he
know
has
that.
access to the Instagram account, that'd be like, how do we know you didn't post this?
So this is the organization, this CUA or the CU apart, the
See
divest.
you next Tuesday.
Yeah, see you next Tuesday organization. They said on Instagram. Let's see. Actually, I do have a date. This was last August. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, we are Westerners fighting for the total eradication of Western civilization. We stand in full solidarity with every movement of liberation in the global South. Our intifada is intifada is an international one. We are fighting for nothing less than the liberation of all people. We reject every genocidal eugenicist regime that seeks to undermine the personhood of the colonized. As the fascism ingrained in the American consciousness becomes even more explicit and irrefutable, we seek community and instruction from militants of the global South. We have been on the front lines in the fight against tyranny and domination, which undergird the imperialist world order.
This is, it's so bizarre because they're like, we stand against genocide. We're going to genocide them before they genocide us.
Right. You know, and it's funny because it's interesting. Someone sent me yesterday our good friend, the Alt-Right Playbook. Remember our good friend, the Alt-Right
Ian
Playbook?
Danskin. I saw
Ian
that.
Danskin. Yeah, he put out a video, and it's like he's like all solemn in it, and he's like, "This is my final Alt-Right Playbook video," because he thinks that Donald Trump is going to usher in legit fascism that's going to take over the country, and that the time for making silly little YouTube videos is done, and now is the time for like military violent revolution response. That's essentially what he said in his video.
Ian Danskin. I hope he's
Ian
bringing
Danskin.
his wife's boyfriend.
Yes, right. Which is funny because everyone trying to imagine Ian Danskin involved in anything like that is obviously laughable. But maybe he'll stay home while his wife's boyfriend, fights a good fight. And one of the points he brought up was that he was saying that the left never makes this argument about how they're going to come and use violence against people on the right. That's only people on the right that make that argument to like fearmonger about the left. And I look at this post as those words echo throughout my mind, and I'm like, oh, here we go. This person's literally talking about eradicating Western civilization, or this account, it's about eradicating Western civilization and unifying with global South, like the global South militant groups.
From militants, yes.
Yes.
What do you think militants mean?
Violent activity. So
we have been on the front lines in the fight against tyranny and domination.
Yep.
Yeah, look, there's no question what this post means.
Right.
They're basically saying we're ready to fight in the global intifada.
Mm-hmm.
So it's so fascinating. Yeah.
Right.
So they want to, this is some strong evidence to deport this guy.
Right. So this would be what they would bring up in order to deport this kid. So as I said, as long as he has his due process, then I'm on board with it. the only thing I'm not on board with is just unilaterally Trump being able to just deport people that have green cards just with no actual adjudication process. So,
right. Yeah.
No, and I do think that the whole like basic, like, I mean, I don't think this kid is some, cringy, protester kid. I think they could have just been like, we're going to deport you. I don't think they needed to literally like arrest him and fly him down to Louisiana in like the middle of the night. Like, like they're going to black bag some sort of terrorist or something. So,
did they do that?
They did do that.
I don't know much about the story. I've just kind of heard it in passing. So
they did. Well, that was part of what got the story to kind of blow up, was that it was so weird in terms of they just kind of like arrested him without warning and sent him off to some, detention facility.
He's in Gitmo now.
When they, yeah, no, he's in Louisiana, but no. And
At
they're
least
fighting over
closer to Gitmo.
they're fighting over jurisdiction, which I don't know enough about the law to know what the, they don't want to do it. Obviously, his legal team wants it to be in New York because I guess they feel like it would be better. And the Trump or the federal government wants it to be in either Louisiana or New Jersey or something. So they're fighting over jurisdiction.
But he's in jail while they're fighting over jurisdiction, right?
Yes.
Which I'm sure the law enforcement loves. They're like, let's just fight over jurisdiction for a couple months here.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, he could be deported and home by now, but let's just let him rot in jail while we're fighting over jurisdiction.
mm-hmm. Oh, and also he has a pregnant wife in America. So that's going to weigh on the judge and everything and all the little factors when they make this decision.
Does she have a green card or is she American?
I believe she's an American citizen.
Oh my God.
That's kind of
He's
like
reproducing with Westerners?
I know, right?
Hypocrite.
Terrible. Yeah, right? What the fuck?
Well, he does say we are Westerners fighting the total eradication of Western civilization. That's like a suicide note right there, right?
Mm-hmm.
We want our civilization to die.
Yes.
Fuck you. I mean, this is cancer. We got cancer here. We gotta cut this shit out.
Right.
I don't think no real tangible change happens until some sort of punishment is mediated.
Mm-hmm. Well, the way that I think that the punishment should have been laid down, it's not like by necessarily deporting people, but this is the problem. The problem is all these fucking colleges. And the Trump administration should basically have strong-armed them into expelling all these kids, saying, well, we're going to cut, I guess what she's kind of trying to do is we're going to cut federal funding to these colleges unless you actually expel kids you can protest, that's fine. But if you're taking over buildings and shouting Jews go home, that's not fine, right? If you're banging on library doors because there's Jews inside and you're saying that they're evil Zionists, like that's not okay. And
that's harassment.
Right, that's 100% harassment. And the government's going to come after you if you don't expel those kids because you're 100% correct. If you don't expel those kids that are engaged in that behavior, then they're going to keep doing it.
Yep.
They're never going to stop.
Yep.
So,
I mean, the Trump administration should understand this because it's the same exact thinking on shoplifting and whatnot.
Right.
And the border. They're like, look, if we don't do anything about the border, obviously 10 million people are going to come.
Right.
So, yeah. Well, it's good. They're doing something. This is funny because the Trump administration is such a mixed bag.
Right.
I like one thing, and then I fucking hate another thing. What's going on here?
Right? Just vacillates back and forth.
Well, I don't know how partisans survive in this. I think the partisans have to feel. I guess they're on board with whatever anyone says.
It's pretty easy. You just turn everything off and you just walk forward, right?
Well, partisans don't have a stake in the economy.
It's for the greater good.
I think they do.
The greater good.
Look, they constantly on the right make fun of the greater good.
They do both.
That's something that they don't like.
They do both. Because on one hand, there's the how dare you, it's the evil libertarian retards that think of humans as exchangeable economic units, right? That was like the big thing. That was like the big fight recently when the more far right was attacking the more libertarian right when it came to immigration and H-1B visas and all that stuff. Was like, oh, it's not about the money. It's not about the money. So I guess it wouldn't be too outside that framework to say, well, it's not about the money. If we have to basically shoot ourselves in the foot economically in order to bring jobs back to America, it's worth it. Now, I don't think those people are the mainstream, so I don't know how well that message is going to fly with the voting base, but
it's going to be tough if you got kids to feed.
Yep. And also, I guess one other thing, which is that Trump had a meeting today with NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte, and it went pretty well. So that's a good sign because I know there's a lot of fear and concern about Trump, pulling out of NATO and doing all this other stuff. And so at least, he had a meeting with the NATO general, very similar to Zelensky in the Oval Office with the press there and everyone on the couches. And it didn't end up in an explosion or eruption. So
he's the pullout king.
There you go.
No, he's not the pullout king.
Right. Okay.
We have time for a Milton Friedman quote.
Sure.
Don't you love Milton Friedman?
I love Mooten. I love Mooten Friedman.
Inflation is always and everywhere a monetary phenomenon in the sense that it is and can be produced only by a more rapid increase in the quantity of money than an output, meaning production. A steady rate of monetary growth at a moderate level can provide a framework under which a country can have little inflation and much growth. It will not produce perfect stability. It will not produce heaven on earth, but it can make an important contribution to a stable economic society. That's Milton Friedman right there. Someone please send this quote to Elon Musk. He doesn't think that we should increase our money supply at all. He thinks we should pay it all off.
There you go.
Fucking anti-Milton Friedman.
Here's an interesting.
Nonsense.
So here's an interesting thing. Ro Khanna, Democrat of California, it looks like he's going to try to do like a pivot to the center, which is kind of fascinating.
Right. He talks to, I think he texts back and forth with Cenk. He's one of the few people that Cenk has like the ear of. He's been on Young Turks a bunch of times.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. He's a representative of California.
He met with Destiny and Bosch, and he's like, oh, I'm sticking with Cenk. Oh, my God.
Yeah, you know what? That was a mistake, right? It's like,
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
I think Cherry was actually at the meeting with Ro Khanna and Destiny.
That's funny.
Yeah.
So he said on X right now, he said, Ezra Klein is right that California has messed up on housing. We should admit it. We need less restrictive zoning laws and to say yes to more building. YIMBY reform Prop 13, which capped property tax to a 2% increase, disincentivizing cities from building houses and decreasing turnover. We also need to stop Wall Street from buying up single-family homes.
Hallelujah.
My Stop Wall Street Landlord Act and allow local jurisdictions to cap rent. I don't know about that, but
yeah, no rent control.
Yeah. We need major investments in public transit and affordable housing and allow sales of ADU like San Jose. Well, so at least I agree with the first part about, at least it's interesting to me that there was an acknowledgement that California fucked up on housing. I don't think capping rent is going to really help the
those two policies are in conflict with one another.
Right.
Rent caps disincentivize building. The way to do it is to incentivize building, however you got to do it, tax breaks, whatever, easy permits, whatever you got to do. Don't fucking rent control, because as soon as you say rent control, all the builders are like, fuck that. I'm going to build a building and maybe lose money on it because the government's going to tell me how much I can charge. Look, you don't even know what the environment's going to be like. You're like, I'm taking a risk just building something. The way that you recoup it is by paying what the market will bear, right?
Right.
It's fucking stupid. Build more houses. Once housing density starts going up, the prices will fall because people will be competing to rent those houses. That's how you get prices down.
Mm-hmm.
Rent caps, bullshit.
True.
I don't understand why Democrats, they always think rent control is going to be a good thing.
So, hey, wait, let me send you something we can watch before I read the rest of super chats here.
All right. Is it good? Breaking news?
It's a Trump clip from his NATO talk today. Though he's been asked questions, so he's answering a bunch of questions that have nothing to do with NATO, I guess. So Michael Tracy posted this out. How many times does Trump have to say he wants to annex Canada before it can be safely assumed that he really wants to annex Canada and is taking policy actions in pursuit of that goal? So,
I mean, he can want in one hand and shit in the other, right? I mean,
see which one fills up faster. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
I guess he's saying he's actually going to take what can he do?
Well,
I mean,
so the argument is that he would be, essentially doing these tariffs and things, not out of any other policy goal other than to just weaken Canada enough to try to bully them into being annexed or something.
Right. To get them to vote for
Which,
cry uncle and vote for becoming the 51st state?
to me, that makes no sense. So I don't think that's the thought process. I mean, maybe it's like, maybe Trump's a retard, but I don't think he's like, I don't think he's unhinged. I don't think he's like retarded from that level, because that doesn't even make sense. That you're going to basically bully a country into getting annexed to you. That's not really how people operate. They say, fuck you.
Yeah, they
You know,
become more
buckle down.
insular,
Right.
obviously.
So that doesn't really make sense to me that would be the strategy that Trump is trying to employ.
They're going to be more isolationist. All
Now,
right, 1 minute. Oh, go ahead.
I do think I think it makes sense from Trudeau's perspective politically for him and other Canadian politicians to claim that's Trump's goal, because that's going to help themselves politically, right? They're going to rally up a bunch of patriotism and say, rah, 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 Canada.
Mm-hmm.
So, but anyway, let's watch this clip.
1 minute, 13 seconds on the clock. 3, 2, 1, go.
And to be honest with you, Canada only works as a state. It doesn't, we don't need anything they have. As a state, it would be one of the great states anyway. This would be the most incredible country visually. If you look at a map, they drew an artificial line right through it between Canada and the U.S. Just a straight artificial line. Somebody did it a long time ago, many, many decades ago, and makes no sense. It's so perfect as a great and cherished state. Keeping "O Canada," the national anthem. I love it. I think it's great. Keep it. But it'll be for the state, one of our greatest states. Maybe our greatest state. But why should we subsidize another country for $200 billion? It costs us $200 billion a year. And again, we don't need their lumber. We don't need their energy. We have more than they do. We don't need anything. We don't need their cars. I'd much rather make the cars here. And there's not a thing that we need. Now, there'll be a little disruption, but it won't be very long. But they need us. We really don't need them. And we have to do this. I'm sorry. We have to do this. Yes.
Mr. President.
Wow. I do think, if we can get rid of customs, it works for me. Sorry, guys. Customs is bullshit.
God, I don't know. I was just defending Trump, saying he's not stupid, but he describes things so stupidly sometimes that it undermines my own argument. Like,
now you convinced yourself.
Well, no, I still don't think. Listen, I still don't buy the whole really annexing Canada thing. But just like the way it's like some people a long time ago just drew lines on a map. I'm like, okay, that's like how every country essentially forms, right? Some people a long time ago draw lines on a map, and people then they fight over it. That's how countries exist.
It's just an artificial line.
Right.
Well, I mean, aren't all the lines artificial?
Right.
Doesn't look good. Makes a bad drawing.
Now I know, because there's been this fight. It's kind of funny. There's been a continual fight. I only know about this because I think CGP Grey talked about it once, where there is this continual fight over where exactly the northern border between U.S. and Canada is.
Oh yes, yeah.
I've seen
those videos.
Yeah, because it goes through some, acres and acres and acres of wilderness that no one gives a fuck about. So there's always this kind of continual back and forth about where exactly the cutoff is, but no one gives a shit enough to do anything about it. And so I know there was some rumblings about Trump trying to take the Great Lakes from Canada or something, which, listen, if I'm proven wrong, if that all happens, then I'll just come on stream and I'll say, wow, guys, I was wrong. But I don't think Trump's going to actually try to annex Canada. So, and I think he's only talking about it because people keep asking him about it. So he's just going to continually talk about it again and again and again whenever he's asked about it.
Well, he's selling it. He's trying to sell it. He's basically saying, oh, this would be so great. He's trying to will it into existence. It's the same exact strategy in real estate, right?
Right.
You go in and you wow the investors. Just think how great this will be, right? You're trying to get people to buy in. He needs to get the Canadian people to buy in. I don't really know how this process would even unfold.
Mm-hmm.
And we subsidize them because we purchased $200 billion worth of their stuff.
I think he's saying that, and also because we're basically Canada's military. Is his argument.
Oh, okay.
No one's going to invade Canada as long as we're around.
Yeah, well, we have to. I mean, we don't. If Canada says "fuck you," don't defend us. We don't. What are we going to shrink our military? Oh yeah, shrink our military by the Canada portion.
Right. Yeah, obviously.
That's not going to happen. And We print the money and send it over there and get a bunch of stuff back. Seems like a good deal.
Right.
Yeah.
So I know the whole thing seems silly. Obviously, I do not foresee any future where Congress is going to try to write in fucking Canada to be the 51st state or something to that effect. So,
I mean, there would have to be bilateral negotiations between the two countries, and everything would
Canada's
have to
never
be
going to
worked
agree
out.
to it. This was ridiculous. I
They're
don't
not
think
even
Canada's going to
gonna-
agree to it. America's not going to want it. So.
They're not even going to. I mean, let's be real. America will want it. America's down to. If Canada was like, please take us in, we'd be like, sure, fucking great. Why wouldn't we take that deal?
I don't think we would. Because it'd be too obnoxious to sort of like what? So are they going to lose is Canada going to lose all its federal programs? Are they going to lose their government health care? Are they going to lose the way their entire government is set up? It's all just going to be dissolved.
They give them Obamacare.
Yeah, right. Like that's what I'm saying. Like the whole thing is ridiculous. Obviously, they're never going to Canada's never going to want this. So it's just an absurd thing. It's like it is a waste of time.
Oh my God. This is a thing. And it does seem like Trump really doesn't have a plan beyond just talking about things.
Mm-hmm.
This is his modus operandi. Because it does, you talk about it in real estate, you talk about it until you win over some investors who actually start putting things in motion.
Right.
But he's just talking. No one is going to step in who can make this thing happen. It's not like a real estate deal where you just need, a certain amount of money to make this a reality. Right?
Right.
I don't even know the things that you need to make a reality of this thing that he's talking about. I guess he keeps talking about it because he wants someone to step in and go, wow, I just so happen to know how to make Canada become the 51st state.
Right.
There's this loophole in the Constitution. Right?
Yeah, it's just a loophole. Exactly.
As soon as Canada has their election, their vice premier steps up.
Right.
And he can throw the election results out and say, hey, Canada gives itself to America.
He puts on a MAGA hat. Suddenly a giant American flag unfurls behind him.
Guess what?
Star Spangled Banner starts playing, fireworks go off. Eagles suddenly start swooping about the Canadian Parliament. It's like, guess what, bitches? Surprise! We're America now. Tricked you.
If we can get the Prime Minister of Canada to apply for citizenship of the United States.
If we can get an American spy to do a honey pot and to trick the Prime Minister of Canada to accepting U.S. citizenship because he wants to bang a hot person.
Oh, yeah.
Then under the rules of, some dusty rules written in British common law 2,000 years ago, that automatically makes Canada an American territory.
Do you think do you believe that Trump said we should just nuke hurricanes? You think that's probably something Trump actually did say?
I thought he said it when he said it. I never doubted that. I never doubted that. Yeah.
Well, I thought he might be joking. I thought he just might be like,
well, listen,
around.
I thought he said that. I never doubted he said that. I actually don't blame him for asking that question. Okay. I don't blame the average person because I don't even know that. I mean, obviously, you don't want to use nuclear because you have radiation everywhere. I don't know the physical process. I'm assuming something bad happens because I think they tried to do this in the past. They tried to blow up hurricanes and it just made them split into more hurricanes or something.
It's like 5 hurricanes now.
Yeah, right. So I don't necessarily blame the president, or Trump being like, well, what happens if we do this? And then someone from NOAA or wherever comes over and actually, it's a terrible idea for XYZ reasons. So
that's funny.
I don't necessarily hold that against them. Why don't they just put bleach in the body at him, right? To really just knock the COVID out.
He meant light.
Okay.
That one I do think he actually meant light, but
okay.
Obviously everyone disagrees.
Right.
Brian,
yeah.
Do you follow any of the Comicsgate drama that goes on?
I follow zero Comicsgate.
Okay. I'm friends with Ethan, so I
Right.
occasionally dip in. There's like a comic skater, Dan Fraga. There's like this drama going on because he's kind of it's so interesting. And now like it hits close to home because now that I'm actually delivering our comic, I realize, oh my God, this is so much fucking work.
Right, right.
But he did a comic book campaign. And I think he launched his campaign like a year before we launched our campaign. So I mean, he's really late, right? I backed the campaign. So I'm one of the people who's out to lunch. He was refunding people, but he stopped doing that recently. And I think he brought in close to $300,000. So his delivery is going to be like, I mean, it's going to be 4 or 5 times more strenuous than ours, which it's kind of kicking my butt anyway. And, I just think, oh man, there's no way in hell he's going to deliver that comic. It's kind of interesting.
Interesting.
You don't care?
No, I don't care.
Can you look? It's interesting to me because the type of person that could take $300,000 and just say, I'm done. I'm not that person. Like everybody's wondered if I'm that person just on our comic campaign, right? I know for a fact
you said it was $300,000.
Almost 300,000. I think it's like 280,000.
And he's not going to deliver.
Oh, he thinks he's going to deliver. But
okay.
I don't. There's no way in hell he's going to deliver.
Gotcha.
Like you don't want to tell yourself, oh, there's no way I can deliver this book, right?
Right.
You're just like admitting, oh, I'm a complete fuck up. I'm a complete fucking fuck up, right? You don't want to mention that. You don't want to say that.
Of course not.
Nobody wants to say that. It's funny because
unless you got 300 in your bank account, then maybe it doesn't feel so bad.
Yeah, I think he has like 7 kids too.
Oh my God.
Which makes me think he's never going to. I mean, I don't care. I wasn't asking him for a refund. I did see people were asking him for refunds and he was delivering those refunds. But he went on, Ethan has a weekly show called Comicsgate Kings where a bunch of people come on, they're regulars. They're all industry pros. They've delivered 10 of these campaigns, right? If you back a campaign from them, you're going to get the comic. So people feel safe backing their campaigns and they like their work. It's like a great situation. But he went in there, and this is why it's interesting. The psychology of it is pretty interesting because I'm sure it weighs on you that you're constantly, look, it weighed on me when we were still not delivering the book, when we were late. Like people constantly are like, what's going on? Where's the book? What the fuck? Am I not going to get my book? It weighs on you. But to be in that situation, like there's 2 ways to get out of that situation from a psychology perspective. You deliver the book, you become even. Most people, they don't like being in debt. This is why people use the debt ceiling all the time, right? Because they're like, this is how we'll psychologically pressure them to kill government spending, right? We'll hit that button. Nobody wants to be in debt. You're in debt $100,000. How does that make you feel as a citizen of America, right? It's completely bogus. I think it's like psychological advantage over people that's unfair. But in this situation with the comic skate thing, like he literally took $280,000 from people, right? So you tell yourself, oh, I'm going to deliver. I'm definitely going to deliver one day. But I mean, or you extricate yourself from that situation, right? You quietly slink away. And I think just sooner or later, everyone who's in this position and they start coming to this low realization, there's no way I can deliver this book. I think he's also, like, he's only done 2/3 of the book too. Like he has a whole nother third of the book to do, which is someone who's literally drawn a comic book. Oh man, that's the fucking work right there. And he does a lot more detailed stuff. So I don't know. It's interesting. So I'm a little fascinated by it. I know all the players too. I've done a live stream with Fraga, but with Dan Fraga, and I've done live streams with Ethan and the whole Comicsgate crew.
Okay. But more important than anything that you just said,
Uh-huh.
did you see the trailer for the new Lilo and Stitch live action movie, Adam?
I did not. Can we watch it?
We can't watch it without getting tagged, but
Everyone is saying this Mickey 17 is total garbage, which makes me so fucking sad because I really like the idea for it. Have you seen the trailer for Mickey 17?
That's the one with Robert Pattinson is like the clone.
The clone, yeah.
I saw. Yeah, didn't Critical Drinker say it was boring or lame or something?
I didn't watch his video. I saw because I was thinking I might go see it myself, maybe tomorrow, because it is an idea that I super like, and it's Moon is a great movie. I know you like Moon. I like Moon.
Right. No spoilers, Jesus.
Well, I think that part is in the trailer. Look, and
No,
Moon came out like 10
For
years
Moon.
ago,
Okay,
20
not
years
for
ago.
Mickey
Go see
17.
Moon, you fuckers.
Right. Moon is a good movie. Yeah.
I guess it is a spoiler.
Right.
Oops. Oops.
Anyway. But yeah, I don't
Is
know.
it-
It looked Mickey 17 did look somewhat interesting, but I saw some people didn't like it. But
Are you a
let's-
Lilo and Stitch fan? Is that where your name really comes from?
That is not where my name comes from, but I do like Lilo and Stitch.
Okay.
That's who doesn't like Lilo and Stitch? Adam.
One of my friend's husbands wrote that movie. Yeah, Chris
Really?
Sanders. Yes.
Wow.
So I know a lot of the inside about Lilo and Stitch because I don't remember what the movie was that came out before that, but Chris Sanders it was one of these Pixar movies that
Chris
they
Sanders
brought
is the
in.
voice of Stitch.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Did he write it too?
Yes.
Wow, I didn't know that.
But look, Chris was he was doing storyboards on another Pixar movie that they brought in a director, right? And the director's obviously the one that's supposed to be doing all the work, right? But this director, I think it might have been a chick director as well, if I remember correctly. They were look, I heard all of this drama through my friend Deborah. She's married to the guy. So I think they're divorced now. I don't think they're married anymore. He became like a bit this happens all the fucking time. I'm friends with Kristen Wiig's ex-husband. Like she became like a giant star. So he like the divorce papers finally came.
Right.
But anyway, so it's like a big controversy because he's like, holy fuck, I'm the one directing this entire fucking movie. Like she's doing absolutely nothing. I'm doing everything. And
This
she's
before
basically
Lilo and Stitch? Or
before
after?
Lilo and Stitch. Yeah. Well,
Right.
I'm bringing this up because this is kind of like how Hollywood solves problems sometimes, right? They're like, okay, don't rock the boat. Don't make waves. Look, we got a bunch of money invested in this project, right? We'll make it up to you on the next project, right? So then they're like, he's got the studio's ear. They're like, well, he did 90% of the work on this other project that this other person got credit for. What else you got, right?
Right.
So he's like, I got this thing called Lilo and Stitch. Lilo and PSA Sitch. What do you think of this? What do you think of this? Maybe we can make this movie. So that movie came to existence because he got totally taken advantage of on another job site.
I mean, first of all, good. I mean, that's great because obviously I think Lilo and Stitch is fantastic. One of the better Disney movies. And
This is how a lot of people get into Hollywood. They just start working on a project and they realize, oh, this person knows what they're doing. Yeah.
it's crazy. I'm glad you brought this up because I had no idea that the guy who does the voice of Stitch was like involved in creating the story. And actually, I'm looking at his IMDb here. He's like his previous credits are, so maybe it must have been one of these movies: Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, The Lion King, and Mulan. And
I think it was it might have been The Lion King.
he was involved in helping write all of those the classic Disney movies.
Oh no, whatever movie it is, he doesn't have a writer's credit on.
Oh, okay.
Because he was doing just like the storyboards for it. Yeah.
Oh, okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Well, does he have an art credit for it, or not?
I'm sure he does. Yeah, I'm sure he does, but I can't remember what the movie was. So
Hercules, he was a key animator, uncredited. Maybe
there you
was
go.
it.
That's probably it right there.
How do you get to be a key animator for Hercules and not get a credit? That's kind of crazy, right?
They gave him a key animator credit.
It says uncredited on IMDb.
Oh, okay.
So I guess they finally gave it to him eventually. But
once you get the power in Hollywood, you can pull that kind of shit. God, there's so much theft that goes on in Hollywood. There really is.
mm-hmm.
So much stuff is stolen from.
He was
other
involved in
people.
character. This guy is so talented. Holy shit! He's involved in character design for Treasure Planet, Kung Fu Panda, Madagascar.
Yes. Yeah.
Shrek.
He's like the guy. He's the fucking guy, man.
Wow, look, that's crazy.
In the animation sphere, he's the fucking
He
man.
wrote How to Train Your Dragon, the first one.
Look, he's the best. Look at this.
Oh, wow. Very talented guy. So
yeah.
There you go. Well, good for Chris Sanders. Though his last screenplay was The Wild Robot, which I don't think did very well.
It was a great movie, though. I did like it.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. You didn't see it?
I did not see it, no.
It's pretty funny. Yeah, pretty
Okay.
funny.
Well, good for him. I'm glad they got him back, obviously, for the live action remake. So
I didn't know you were. I mean, I thought just. I didn't know you like Lilo and Stitch like that.
Who doesn't like Lilo and Stitch?
I mean, it's a good movie. It is.
It's a good movie. Good movie. One of the better
Very
Disney
solid.
movies.
Yeah.
Sammy
I mean, it's a
likes
little woke,
Stitch.
but
How's it woke?
I'm just kidding.
Oh,
I'm only
okay.
kidding.
Sammy's a big Stitch fan. She always puts Stitch stuff everywhere in the apartment. So.
Oh wow. Okay. But I saw it in the movie theater when it came out. Partially because all of this drama was going on with Deborah and so I was like, oh, I got to check it out. Got to support my fam, right?
I saw it in the movie theater too, because if you remember the ad campaign for it was very smart. They'd have like the trailer for like Aladdin or Lion King, and then Stitch would like be in it, and he'd like fuck up the story.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's like Aladdin on his magic carpet, and he drives by on his like spaceship, and he like Jasmine like ditches Aladdin's magic carpet to jump into Stitch's like flying a spaceship.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess that would be cool live action. Yeah, Stitch is live action.
So yeah, and they did a good job on the animation. He looks cute. So he looks like Stitch. He doesn't look like weird, like the weird Sonic or anything. So
I'll bring up a still because I am curious. I haven't seen it at all. Oh my God, he's fucking adorable. Holy shit. Holy fucking shit.
You got your little baby Yoda going on.
Yeah, look at this. Oh, this movie's gonna make billions.
$1 billion, yeah. Well, I mean, this is gonna be a huge, boon for Disney, because I think they've been kind of coming up with stinkers one after another, and then finally they're like, oh, we can finally do a movie everyone likes. So.
Oh my God, what's up with that? Oh man, I got the fucking wiffle file. What the fuck is that stupid file?
You just take a screenshot of it and like paste it in our DMs and then copy that. So.
No, I want to get one of the cute ones because there's some that are not as cute.
Right.
There's some that are really cute. Holy shit. Yeah, the Baby Yoda thing is like we have like a life-like Baby Yoda that's actual size, the actual size of the Baby Yoda. They have this store in Southern California that's like has all like movie quality props and all kinds of different things. And they had the Baby Yoda that looks just like the real Baby Yoda. It's crazy.
I think it was a good decision, though. I'm glad they did it, to make Stitch's eyes all black.
Oh yeah, because it's cute.
Oh no, usually it's not cute to have like the all black eyes. Like even Baby Yoda has slight, like a brown.
Oh, he
I
does?
think, iris. Yeah.
I mean, but it's puppy dog eyes. Puppy dogs have big eyes like that.
I guess you're right.
They don't have whites in their eyes. God, he looks fucking adorable. Holy shit, this movie's gonna make $1 gajillion.
So, but anyway,
yeah. Holy cow. Yeah, holy crap.
So that'll be fun.
Interesting.
Brian for $2 says, you will respect my authority. There you go. Anonymous Cow for $10 says, at what point will we have an insufficient tax base due to the birth rate? Will the 70% mandatory spending shrink with the aging population, or will we need health tech innovation to reduce spending? I mean, I don't know what the actual calculation is. We're not there yet. And I mean, we're still in the positives because of immigration. So,
well, and we reached the crest of the baby boom. There are going to be less people retiring in the future.
Right.
As the
We're gonna be
people,
going down,
baby boom
yeah.
people die off. Yeah, exactly. I mean, they
Right.
make it sound like, oh my God, the people are going to be retiring forever. No, sooner or later you hit the top.
Mhm. Amoeba Sheep for 50 knock says, I hope you packed my comic tight, Adam. Norway has snow in goddamn March. Also, Sitch, where'd you used to get comedic reaction clips for videos? So, well, first of all, you can answer. Did you pack it? Is it snowproof?
No, there's been no complaints about the comics. David Puff got his comic and said that the package was beat the fuck out of.
Oh my God.
But none of the comics were damaged inside. So I'm using Gemini mailers, which I think is the gold standard. I went all out, bags and boards, Gemini mailers. So you should be good. The package might be damaged a bit. Someone said one of the sleeves was ripped, which I don't know how that happened. Some of those bags were super fucking tight. It's like crazy tight, but so it should be good. It should be good.
Mm-hmm.
What's the next question?
So there is a website called Yarn, and it's funny because I just looked it up and I couldn't actually get it working, so I don't know if it works anymore. There's a website called Yarn. You can try to Google Yarn clips that had a lot of clips that were very easy to find because you just type in like the phrase and it would actually populate the search results with a bunch of clips from random TV shows of people saying the actual phrase you typed in. So it was very useful.
Wow.
For reaction shots and everything. So hopefully that site still exists because it was very good. Alex Quast for 7 Canadian says, hey guys, just received my comic yesterday. Late as always. In all seriousness, you guys did a great job in full, and the full color art is beautiful. Well, thank you.
Yeah. Glad you guys liked it. It's been a labor of love.
Christian Baller for $5 says, read a report that Trump is allegedly considering removing all federal income tax for earners $150K below. Thoughts? Well, I mean, obviously, I'm in favor of that. That's going to help me. So,
yeah. I mean,
I don't know what's going to look like for the tax base. It might be bad, but, good for me. So fuck the country, right? I don't care.
Yeah, it's probably going to be inflationary. So I don't know how. I mean, taxing is literally taking purchasing power away from people. So, yeah, you're probably going to get inflation.
Orion for 34 months says power overwhelming. There you go. I don't know why what was the StarCraft reference in there, but I appreciate it. Sam Josh for $5 says, just got my comic in the mail. Fantastic work in the art, Adam. I'd love to hear more about how it was made. A-Team reigns supreme.
Yeah, I have kind of a unique way of doing it. Like I tried to do art in like a lot of different ways because obviously I'm teaching myself. Traditional comics, they do like an ink and then they do flats and then they do a color. And that, I mean, I did some pages like that, but I wasn't super happy with the results because I just, as a painter, like I've been painting my entire life, I have all this knowledge in painting. So I came up with a way that is where I would basically like rough out, kind of pencil, like the penciling stage. And then I would color that penciling stage, and then I would do inking on top of that colored pencil stage. So if we do a second book, God willing, I will probably just go to that method over and over again, where I'm basically penciling an entire page, and I'm doing all this digitally, obviously. So I'm penciling a page, I'm coloring that pencil. Those pencils are rough. And then I'm doing some minor inking on top of those pencils. I don't like the really like dark ink, black ink comic pages. So,
Hmm.
yeah.
Okay.
So that's my unique way of doing things.
Right. Cool. Spark7907 for 2 Canadians says Ethan has Tourette's. He can't stop doing that. Yeah, I know he has Tourette's, but I mean, I've seen him he does like a lot of face ticks. I never heard him do the sniffs before. So I assumed he was sick, but maybe it is just part of the Tourette's. Orca for $5 says, great show. Today, y'all, if the recession, I don't know if you can hear me. I'm sniffing in.
It's doing a good job of cutting it out. Sniff, sniff.
Great show, sniff today. If the recession sniff happens, Sitch can blame the late sniff face reveal on sniff that. Don't let him at him. Sad face. There you go. Goro Sarah for 35 months says, I cannot send a message about Peter Zeihan's latest video. I'm being silenced.
Really?
I've seen it. I've seen his latest video. So Peter Zeihan, now I don't know if I agree with this analysis. He thinks that Trump is intentionally, well, he says two things, which I don't know if I agree with. He thinks that Russia would 100% be invading Poland if we didn't stop Ukraine, which I'm not sure I agree with that.
That's been his position all along.
I know that's always been his
war.
position.
Yeah.
Right. But his other position, which I'm assuming Garo is referring to, which is more contentious, is that he believes Trump is intentionally weakening the country for some nefarious purpose. So
right. He doesn't like Trump at all.
Right.
Peter Zeihan has always kind of hated Trump, but I think he's smart enough to keep it on the DL. He doesn't want to go full Sam Harris. But I suspect in private, he does go full Sam Harris.
Right. Well, I mean, I think saying that, it's revealing that you think that Trump is intentionally trying to weaken the country for some nefarious purpose seems like you're, letting it out, right?
It does, doesn't it? All of a sudden,
Yeah,
it's like, is it inappropriate to speculate on the sexual orientation of Peter Zeihan?
No, if you want. I mean, I've never got any vibes from him or speculated on his sexual orientation. Never even occurred to me to speculate on that. So
your gaydar is not.
No,
your gaydar is malfunctioning.
It is never. I've never thought about it. Never entered. Listen, I'm colorblind. I'm gay blind. Okay, I don't. Unless it's like really apparent.
Well, look, obviously, look, I'm in favor of gay marriage. We have a bunch of fans of the show that are gay. Look, we love our gay people. Okay. Right. You guys should be able, I think life is like the buddy system. You got to find someone who's got your back. Friends, but a lifelong partner is important. And if you have same-sex attraction, I think you're born with it and you should be able to live your life accordingly. So I'm not against I'm not against Peter Zeihan being gay if he is. I don't know that he is. But I do know that a lot of gay people are super triggered by Trump. Like they bought into this narrative that Trump hates gay people and that the Republican Party is completely anti-gay. I don't think that's true of Trump either, but I just wonder if that's affecting Zeihan at all. It's an interesting perspective. I always thought, he's just a tad effeminate. One of my best friends is effeminate and straight as can be. So I know that there are effeminate men that can be straight. But one day, I don't know if you saw this, Peter Zeihan had his assistant post something for him or put out a message for him. And the assistant just screamed, oh, that's his husband. That's like totally his husband.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, wow. The question has been answered. But look, this is speculation. I never gone to the internet and been like, is Peter Zeihan gay? Look, maybe I should do this now. Do a tad bit of research.
I found a website claiming that he does have a husband, but it's one website I've never heard of, and I don't see anything confirming it from like a more legitimate looking source. So
look, this is why Sitch and Adam is so great, because Adam will throw out just a haymaker and Sitch will be like, that's not fucking true.
Well, no, I'm saying there's some website claiming that, and there's a guy's name claiming that he is married to a guy, but I don't see anything else confirming it. So, take it as you will.
Yeah.
But
I like his content. I think he does good stuff. When he was on Joe Rogan, Zeihan was on Joe Rogan, I had just a gut intuition that he might be just a salesman, that he might be just like a used car salesman who's a fast talker who can remember all of these stats and has a compelling argument. And that was the first time that I thought, this guy doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. I completely disagree with him on certain economic stuff too, but anyway, there you go. There's your tantalizing drama for the day.
There you go. Girl Sarah for $2. Speaking of Peter Zeihan, he said that he's an absolute quack, a duck, and a chuck. There you go.
Who said that? Goro Sarah? Oh, look.
Goro.
Well, now we know how your position on it. Thank you.
Brian for $20. Thanks so much. Says if Putin wants a deal at all, his time to get one is only with Trump. If he says no to Trump, there's no other person willing to negotiate with Putin, especially if the Democrats win. They won't even consider one. That is a good point.
It is a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I don't know, because again, a lot of this is going to have to really depend on what exactly. Well, there's two things. What exactly is the real Russian situation on the ground in Ukraine? Because I really don't trust a lot of information on it. And then what does Putin think, and what are his advisors telling him the situation is? Because, the word was his advisors, he's surrounded by yes men who kind of led him into believing that they could conquer Ukraine in like a week. And that's why he went to war. And obviously that was a mistake. So Dr. Fire for $5 says, I suppose if the kid was financially supporting a prescribed terrorist organization, that would qualify him for deportation. No? Yeah, I would say, yeah. I would say definitely. Yeah. That'd be a good case for it. Sure.
These Lilo and Stitch stills are incredible. Now I can't wait for this movie to come out. When's this movie come out?
May, I think, the end of May.
Oh man,
gotta wait a couple months. Remember, like back in the day, like there'd be like a trailer for a movie and it'd come out like 6 months later. Remember that? I feel like now it's like things get closer. Like now, like trailers only come out a couple months beforehand. So
yeah, it's so expensive.
Philip Pierce for $2 says, just got mine and my wife's comic, A-Team reigns supreme.
Thank you. Yes. Hope you like it. I hope you like the story. Sitch and I labored over it. It's pretty good.
David Puff for 31 months. Thanks so much. Says the comic is great, guys. I'm writing a big review that'll be sharing online. I'll tag you guys on X. Can't wait for book 2. Well, thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Look, and David's a storyteller too, so that's high praise coming from you. Thanks.
Right. Cammy at 502 for $5 says, I'm pretty dovish on immigration, but if we can't deport a guy who comes here to support terror and causes chaos, I'm ready to end all immigration. There you go.
I mean, that's a good super chat. I agree.
Phil Pierce for $10 says, would you rather A, do a bad deal for Ukraine, a good for Russia, and amazing for US, or B, a bad deal for US, good for Russia, and good for Ukraine? So I guess I'd need more context, because like what is a bad deal for US but a good deal for Russia and Ukraine? Like what does that mean exactly? Like if you mean bad deal in terms of we just don't recoup what we spent on Ukraine, but Ukraine, gets stable borders and a peace agreement with Russia, then yeah, I'm in favor of that. But if you mean a bad deal for US, like, US has to sacrifice a quarter of the population to a volcano to appease Putin, like, no, obviously I'm not gonna support that. So I guess I have to know more specifics, what exactly that would entail.
I mean, I would not support A in any way, shape, or form. So a bad deal for Ukraine is I would not support, not at all.
Right.
It's so counterproductive to do we believe in spreading Western values or not? I mean, it's to say we're in favor of Western values and like Western values are getting kicked to the curb, and to be against wokeness because it's anti-Western values, and then to abandon a country who is basically invaded because they want to embrace Western values. What the fuck? Like, forget all of your activism then.
Right.
You have this huge opportunity here and you're like pissing it away. Like it's not even like it's a huge amount of money.
Mm-hmm.
Ridiculous. I can't abide by that.
I agree.
Yeah, so many people just bought the bullshit on this. I watch a bunch of these videos on Ukraine and I mean, I'm basically watching Ukrainian news now, so I just think it's ridiculous. So many people form their opinions based on No information.
Right.
Well, I saw a tweet by Tucker Carlson. Now I have an opinion.
Right.
Fuck that. It's so
America,
funny.
baby.
It's so funny because people, I mean, I sensed, I mean, when I was tweeting like crazy on Ukraine, I knew like a bunch of our fans were super pissed at me. I can't. And look, and a bunch of the people who fucking hated me because they believed Destiny's nonsense were like, oh my God, Adam is so based on this. I thought he was a secret fucking right winger.
Well, I mean, it's weird because your position it was the right wing position for like the last 40 years.
Yes. Remember Iraq? Holy shit.
Right. So
Look, I hate the comparisons. First of all, it's the left that believes we invaded Iraq for the oil, for the natural resources. That's a left-wing position. The right-wing position was always we invaded Iraq because if we could get a democracy in the middle of the Middle East, it would solve our terrorism problem, right? Like if we could get fucking France in the middle of the Middle East, like it's over for the Middle East.
Right.
Like all that shit comes to an end. I think obviously that was impossible because the population is half of the equation, right? And they've lived under dictatorships their entire life. They don't even know what democracy is, much less be able to fight for it. So that was never going to happen. But with Ukraine, like we've done so much soft power shit with Ukraine, and Russia has done so much soft power with Ukraine to try to bring them back into the authoritarian dictatorship fucking position. When they finally reach out and say, you know, bring in the cavalry, what the fuck? We made the movie Team America. We are the cavalry. You're going to say no to that? It's so weird. So fucking weird. Who watches Team America? Liberals or conservatives?
conservatives.
Who watches Team America and goes, this is a funny movie, but it's all kind of true.
Right.
That's why it's so funny. Anyway.
Follow up, Philip Pierce for JR says, what deal would make you happy with Ukraine?
Ukraine is under the protection of Europe, America, and the world. Like literally, France is the only one in Europe that has nuclear weapons. They could we could build a nice big military base in Ukraine and fucking park those French nuclear weapons over there.
I forgot to tell you that there was a story where Poland is requesting nukes be moved to Poland.
Yeah, they want yeah, it's so look, I was tweeting this. You can go back like 4 weeks ago, maybe. I was tweeting, give Ukraine their nuclear weapons back. And everyone was like, oh my God, Adam is insane. He's completely unhinged. Now everyone in fucking Europe has nuclear weapons, right?
Right.
France parked theirs in Germany. Germany doesn't have nuclear weapons, right? They're getting ready to move them up to Ukraine. Fucking Poland's like, we'll take them. We want some nuclear weapons. There's going to be nuclear weapon. Every single nation in Europe is going to be a nuclear power when this is done. So as soon as North Korea ended up getting nuclear weapons, they're like, okay, proliferation didn't work. Fuck that.
Well, I think it was really Russia invading Ukraine is what set off the chain for everyone wanting nukes.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the real thing. If it wasn't for this, I think Europe and the rest of the world would be totally fine without nukes, except for that's what the reason why Iran was looking for nukes is because the way the global order was set up before this was if you were friendly to the West, you didn't need nukes because there wasn't really a threat of you being invaded.
Right.
Really. But now that's off the table completely. So
who took that off the table?
Putin took it off the table.
Yeah. Well, we contributed to it as well.
Sure.
Where do you probably listen to these foreign policy discussions on podcasts and in presentations and stuff like that. So I'm sure you've heard the debate over whether or not we should have gone stronger in the beginning Do you have a preference on that? I mean, it is a tough debate, but I think I side with the, like, we should have given Ukraine the ability to like hit inside Russia and loaded them up with nukes, done all kinds of shit.
I'm always cautious because I personally just don't know a lot about military tactics. So I don't feel confident talking about that to like an extent. But, you know, like now in like Monday Morning Quarterback, in retrospect, if you had a crystal ball, I would say, yeah, obviously we should have just given Ukraine like all sorts of weapons to really push back and not giving them any restrictions. At the time, there was this fear. Well, there's two fears. There's one that we've never really talked about, and there's one that we have. The one that we talked about and everyone talked about was there's this fear that if Ukraine went too hard on Russia, they were going to get nuked, and we didn't really want that to occur. And so it seems like as of now, that seemed to be a paper tiger. That doesn't seem to be a threat that is like a real threat.
Now that they're hitting Moscow with fucking drone attacks. Yeah, totally.
Right. So that seems to be off the table. There is another concern that we've never really discussed, because I guess I didn't really think about it, which Ryan McBreth brings up whenever he talks about it, where he was saying the reason America was kind of didn't really want to give Ukraine full-on weapons to just take out Russia wasn't so much the threat of nukes. Well, it was, but not in the way that we're talking about it. It was more the threat that Ukraine could actually wipe Russia out or wipe Putin out, and then Russia, like Putin is the only thing that keeps, that Putin's the only thing that keeps Russia together as a country. And if he lost the war like completely, he would lose power. Russia would basically break off into a bunch of different like warring countries, which would all have nukes, and it'd be like this horribly unstable solution for the area. And now you'd have a bunch of countries threatening to nuke each other where Russia once stood, and America didn't really want that. And the interesting thing about that point, which is number one, that's a good point. I haven't really heard of that. That completely flies in the face of all the people on both the left and the right who hate America, because their whole point is America secretly wants to destroy Russia. And Ryan McBeth is saying, no, America doesn't, like specifically is going out of its way to not destroy Russia because it's afraid that the absence of Putin would make the situation much worse.
This is Iraq. Exactly Iraq. People think Ukraine is the Iraq, but no, Russia's the Iraq in this situation.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you had,
Saddam
Hussein kind of keeping things in check in a pretty fucked up way. So.
Yeah, no, that is a great point. Something to consider. God, why is America so based? Why is America so? We got all the cards.
We got all the cards, baby. So.
Wow. That is an interesting perspective to look at these peace negotiations through.
Right.
It totally is. Putin obviously doesn't care. Like, he wants to cement his own power. All right.
Phil Pierce for $10 says, boots on the ground. Would you rather us put boots on the ground now? I agree 100% with the give them the nukes back. I mean, obviously, I would prefer if it wasn't U.S. boots on the ground, if it was, European boots on the ground. But I think Europe should put boots on the ground to deter Russia.
There might be some U.S. troops because it would be like a NATO force. That's what that's what they want. The nukes I thought would be cheaper, but it turns out the nukes are like more expensive because the nukes are difficult to maintain. So,
they're very expensive to maintain.
I mean, I think it's better. Americans are like, give them the nukes. Americans don't want to see other Americans on the ground there. So,
right.
Look, and this is another thing too. Supposedly, Ukraine has not gone crazy conscripting people. They don't have like a super hardcore draft going. And I read that they have plenty of people that could fight if they just did a draft, but they don't want to go to that step yet. So.
Are you telling me those videos are fake or not real? That all those people put on X?
Oh yeah, those are. Well, look, those people might have actually signed up and be fucking deserters. Who knows? There's no context in any of those things. Yeah. And they raised the the draft age to 25. So they keep saying, oh, they lowered the draft age. That's a lie. They didn't. They raised it to 25. They want the 18 to 24-year-olds that make some fucking babies. They need more babies.
Right.
Yeah.
Lethal Strain Provider says we can't put a military base in Ukraine. Russian naval bases are in the Black Sea. If we cut off access, it would be World War III. Well, I mean, I'm not sure I see the connection there. You could have military bases in Ukraine that could exist without completely just saying "fuck you, Russia" to the Black Sea. I mean, isn't Turkey like hate Russia? Turkey's literally talking about sending troops to Ukraine. They want to send troops to Ukraine, and Turkey has the largest land border in the Black Sea, I believe, out of all the countries. So I'm not sure I follow like that line of, like, if we were at war, obviously it'd be different. But if we're not at war, because we're talking about like in a peace, there'd be some kind of peace agreement. Like, okay, we have peace terms, and then the result of the peace terms are, there's going to be, military forces stationed in Ukraine, preferably from Europe. So
I do think I think it would be tough to put an American base there.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. It's so funny. Trump wants Greenland so bad for an American base. What's wrong with American base, right? And fucking he's probably drank the Kool-Aid on the NATO encroachment argument. So
probably. He seems like he's surrounded by people that believe all that stuff. So
yeah.
RBGH fan provider says, to all of you wanting to keep the fighting going in Ukraine, Uncle Sam has one word for you: enlist. I mean, I think it's like an NPC. It's like an NPC argument. It's like saying, well, if you don't like what the government's doing, stop paying taxes. It's like kind of a retarded argument. So
here's the meme. Have you seen the meme with the bird and the blackbird? This meme is one of my favorites because I fucking love the last panel where
I've seen the meme of the blackbird screaming, but I don't know what it is in this context every time.
Panel 1, I think Trump's actions regarding Ukraine are bad, and then the blackbird comes up with a MAGA hat. Go to the front. If you want more war, you should go to the front.
Right.
So this was the meme that I was going to post when Trump decided he was going to continue to fund the war and also share intelligence. I was like, Trump needs to go to the front, the front, the front.
Yeah, apparently by turning back on Ukraine aid, RBGH fam is going to go enlist in Ukraine now, I guess.
Right. So. No, Trump needs to go to the front. He's the one that turned the funding back on.
They can go together. They can go hand in hand.
Trump, back to the front, the front, the front, the front.
Right.
It's so, like, this is so silly. It's so silly, and it's intended to be like to call the person a coward. It's not. It's
just like one of these like brain dead NPC responses to something that's like kind of real, kind of a troll, like simultaneously. It's like a nonsensical response. Like, you're not allowed to have an opinion about anything unless you're literally willing to die for it, which is kind of a retarded statement that no one ever talks about in any other context. So,
right. Well, I think it's a response because the response to the people who don't want to spend money, they're like, I don't give a fuck if the whole country gets killed, right? I don't want to spend my money. You're like, okay, well, you're a greedy fuck, right? Mm-hmm. So the greedy fuck charge gets escalated to, well, you're a coward.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Where's the next one? What's the next one for after coward? You're a fucking rapist.
I mean, you could say that the other side's cowardly too. So,
can you?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
You're giving in to a dictator because you're a pussy.
There you go.
So you pretend.
There you go.
I mean, it'd be the same thing. Just being like, oh, you say it's about money, but in reality, you're just a pussy. So, yeah, is that like a real argument? No, but it's not gonna stop NPCs from kind of making these dumb arguments.
Right. Look, RBGH fam, longtime supporter of the channel. We do thank you for the super chat. So
thank you for the NPC argument in the super
We don't
chat.
want to go too hard.
Right. Okay. Let's see. Brian for 2 hours says, too many left wingers, keep Canada separate. There you go. See? Cameraman 502 for $2 says, let's replace the Sudbury nickel with the U.S. nickel. Sure.
Oh, that sounds fun.
Malik for $5 says, for $10 says, annexing Canada would probably give the Democrats enough votes to flip Congress and impeach Trump. LOL. That's the thing. Yeah. Like, that's why I was saying I don't think U.S. would want Canada because, you know, it'd really throw off the demographics unless they'd be like, oh, no, you're a territory. You know, you don't get the vote, which then Canada wouldn't agree to that anyway. So
the irony. Oh, that would be so fucking crazy.
That would be pretty funny. What if, okay, here's like the 10D chess move from, this is the move from like an Aaron Sorkin TV show. Okay. U.S. annexes Canada. Canada joins U.S., gets the vote, impeaches Donald Trump. Then once Trump's impeached and JD Vance, the House by that point has been taken over by the Democrats. That person becomes president. Then Canada goes back to being a separate country. And it was all just a ruse to get rid of Donald Trump and JD Vance.
Wow.
There you go. There's your Aaron Sorkin West Wing ridiculous level plot line.
That's pretty good, though.
Yeah.
Tantalizing.
Grassroots Hegemon, thanks so much for the $20. Says maybe we don't annex Canada, but we just instead occupy Montreal militarily. $17 packs of dog shit cigarettes and chewing tobacco is illegal. Plus, it's the French. They love being occupied. It keeps them on their toes. Wow.
Oh, that's great.
There you go.
Montreal is supposed to have a bunch of very attractive women as well, so could work
Wow,
out for the occupying force.
Go Ask House for $5 says Mahmoud Khalil is 31 years old. He is not a kid. Really? I didn't know he was that old. Why is he in fucking college? What the hell? Is he 31?
What's up with that?
This article is saying he's 29. But regardless, 29 is pretty old. That's not a kid. So, yeah. That's a good point. M8566 for $5 says, I don't understand. Why aren't you using Sitch's powers to deliver the comic? Also, why are Sitch's powers the same as Chernobog's in Smite? LOL. Well, I've never played Smite. So, first of all, why is Chernobog from something else? I thought that was just the name of a character from Fantasia. I didn't know that was like based on. Oh, I guess it's based on some myth. That makes sense.
Sitch's powers, I don't know where they came from. Like we both basically, I mean, we wanted to meme a lot with the audience in this comic. So obviously at the time, I mean, this was like an eternity ago, right?
Right.
I was always doing thumbnails with laser eyes in them. So that kind of became my brand for a little while.
You were the robot with laser eyes. Yes.
Yeah. So,
right.
So everybody was, so
I don't remember where the shadow portals came from. Yeah. I don't even remember. It's been so long.
What? What are you talking about? Sitch just was like, yeah, my character has these powers, and he explained them to me, and I asked him a bunch of different questions about them, and we kind of mapped out the rules, but I don't know why. I don't know why. It just seemed appropriate,
I guess. I think it just seemed aesthetically appropriate. I'm like, because everyone would call me a shadow man.
Right.
So I had to have shadow powers, right? That was the thing. Like you had laser vision, I had shadow powers. It made sense.
Well, we did need to add some gadgets in order to extend your shadow powers in the same way that that the original Spider-Man had gadgets to extend his powers. Yeah.
Of course. Yeah. Gadgets to produce shadows.
Exactly.
Right. Yes. To use as portal surfaces. Yes.
Yeah. Right. Which I think is interesting.
Yeah. I guess it was just that. I was just that it was just I like it. I think it's cool. And I think Adam did a great job with the little interior of the shadow portal, giving it that cool texture.
Yeah, so you can tell what's going on.
And it was funny.
Give the visual cue. He's making a portal. Look.
Me and Adam had like a 2 or 3 hour like debate on like how the shadow portals would work in terms of, you know, like does something go in? Does it maintain its orientation and trajectory, or can you like alter the trajectory and orientation? Would it be too confusing? Like we had like a 3 hour conversation about like trying to figure out how it all worked.
Yeah.
So
just to obviously you want to maintain consistency, world consistency.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
We don't want to get EFAP'd on the fucking consistency, right?
Because that was the whole thing. Because originally it was like when the car falls into the floor and then goes out the building, we're like, what is the should it be the same orientation, or can it change its orientation when it leaves? So
right.
Listen, we're thinking about this stuff.
Okay. Of course. Yes.
Grassroots Hegemon, thanks so much for the $20. Says Hercules was such a great soundtrack. When I was a kid, I started going to the Black Baptist Church up the street from me. It gave me a lifelong love of R&B and soul singing and jazz. Powerful kids movie. Wow, look at that.
Look, I think it
Incredible.
was super popular. So
yeah. Electro for $20. Thanks so much. Says the Department of Education helped me with my loan when they found out the school I was going to doing illegal stuff. I even got my money back. My thing just crashed.
I even got my money back from
buy
what?
Me more RAM. Okay.
I even got my money back from what I paid off. It's like I never went to college.
Wow, that's pretty good. Look at that. Good on the Department of Education. It's all gone now.
Yeah. I guess I've just had a different relationship with government organizations. It seems like every time something fucked up happens, there's like some government organization that's some watchdog that I can turn to. And I just think, wow, I'm glad I live in America and not Russia where they just laugh in your face. But maybe people don't go to that next step. Maybe they don't seek help. They just assume there ain't no help out there.
Right.
Some college fucked me over. I'm fucked. This guy's like, no, I'm going to call the Department of Education. And they're like, well, thank you for calling us. We're going to take these people and fuck them up.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to beat the shit out of them for you in court.
Lethal Strain for $2 says that's why Russia took Crimea for Black Sea access. Yeah, I mean, I know that was definitely part of it. So I'm not saying the Black Sea is not important to Russia. I'm just saying, I just push back on the idea that simply having a military base in Ukraine is going to like somehow trigger World War III because of the Black Sea. I don't think that's accurate. Because obviously there's other, Turkey has access to the Black Sea. They have military bases. Romania's there. I don't know what's going on with Romania, but presumably they're doing something. So. Dr. Fire for 20 Canadian, thank you so much. Says, I wonder if Putin is also just looking at what his legacy in Russia will be. The man is in his 70s or 80s. He's been in power for the last 25 years. He's likely at most has 20 more years in him. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question. Putin is old. He's 72. He's got to be up there. And there's all these rumors a few years ago that he was like dying or had cancer or something. So it could be. I don't, but he's not really making at least externally, it doesn't seem like he's making the movements to gracefully pass the torch to somebody else. So I don't know. It doesn't seem like that is on the front of his mind, at least from what we can see. So who knows what's going on behind the scenes?
You can just listen to the Tucker Carlson interview and you know exactly what he wants to do. He wants to put the USSR back together.
Right. Well, I guess unless that's supposed to be his legacy, is like I brought the USSR, but there's no way. I mean, I guess he could be totally delusional. I don't think he would think at 72 that he's gonna be able to accomplish that in his lifetime.
What if Putin is like gassing up Trump on all this Canada stuff? Like he's like, look, I'm going to be remembered because I put the empire together. You need to grow your empire. You need to grow. He's like, Canada, Mexico, Greenland, Panama.
He's like, listen, you let me take the, Eastern Europe, you take your side. Right. Yeah.
Trump just hasn't really thought it through.
Cameraman 502 for $2 says, in 1 to 2 years, would you consider putting a PDF of the comic out?
Maybe. I just like nobody in Comicsgate does this because it completely undercuts the value of the comic. I hope to still be selling the comic in 1 to 2 years, right? Like we're going to do a second book. So we bring new fans in who are like, oh, look, I can buy the first book and the second book, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it completely undercuts that if like it's all over the internet.
Right.
Yeah. So
I
got screwed on international shipping this time because I didn't charge enough. And I mean, David Puff said, well, you could just ask for more money. I feel like that's just not, people are not going to like that. Right.
You want to pull a Tesla?
They're going to be like, yeah, exactly. They're going to be like, oh my God, you made almost $100,000, you greedy fuck. Right? They don't know, oh my God, the expenses are so incredible. Like I'm
Right.
literally going to eat like $3,000 on international shipping.
Right.
So, I mean, yeah, it hurts. This is a very slim profit margin on these books. I don't, it's funny because I don't know. I guess the answer to that is if we abandon all hopes of doing a second book, maybe we do a PDF of the comic in 1 to 2 years. But I'd rather be doing more comics. So,
Right.
yeah. Hopefully does that sound bad, Sitch? I don't know.
No.
I don't want to be greedy, and I don't want to sound like a greedy.
I don't
greedy
think you
fuck,
sound greedy.
but yeah.
No, it makes sense to me.
I mean, I worked my fucking ass off on this.
I guess to answer the question, Cameraman, you'll have to wait 1 to 2 years to find out.
Right.
No plans as currently to do that.
I mean, maybe it's super popular. Maybe I call my friend Chris Sanders up and he's like, oh my God, we should make this into a movie.
There you go.
And then
you can voice
fuck
Sitch.
Yeah.
Right?
Like,
It'll be like a nice little nod to Stitch.
Once we've got yeah, exactly. That's what I'll say. He's like, oh my God. We'll say we're huge fans of Lilo and Stitch. Oh, we're like the biggest fans. My friend even named himself after Stitch. That's good. That'll sell it.
There you go. Roadside for 25 months says, as someone who doesn't support Ukraine, I find the NATO is at fault for the war position stupid. That's not the point. It's just not our fight. Yeah, I would be so, I mean, first of all, thank you. I would be so much better, so much happier if that was just the position that like people had, but it's not. People, for whatever reason, are just not comfortable with that position. So they have to buy into propaganda essentially to justify the position. So Electro for 20.
David Puff says, Adam, I'm just saying it's okay to add more costs for the people buying internationally. Yes. And look, next time around, I'm definitely like the international shipping is going to be like $50 because
right.
Look, it's literally like $32 just for shipping, right?
Right.
And you got to think of all the costs that went into the thing. So if I'm like some of these books, the people only paid $45. They paid, well, I guess if it's international, they paid $25 for the book, and so they paid $50.
You know whose fault this is, right?
What's that?
The Houthi
Trump,
pirates.
yeah. Oh, is it? Is it really? Is this because of it?
They probably raised the price of international shipping. So,
yeah, everyone told me, oh, international shipping is expensive. Charge $25. You got to charge $25. And at the time, I was like, that's insane. But now I'm like, oh my God, that's fucking cheap.
That's not even enough. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, because so even if you I fucking hate Indiegogo because Indiegogo takes 10% of the shipping. So it's like
oh really?
$25 that they paid, they take $250 of.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So you're just getting murdered on shipping.
Right.
Yeah.
That's awful.
Not only that, they charge a 20% tip. So they fucking I'm like, oh my God. This is a big thing in Comicsgate. Comicsgate hates Indiegogo or hates Kickstarter, so they swear by Indiegogo, but I'm like, fuck Indiegogo. I'll never use Indiegogo.
Electro for $20, thanks so much, says, well, they were going through a lawsuit, so they contacted me and told me I was getting my money back. I didn't have to do anything. Wow.
Oh, okay, look at this. That's government working for you.
How much the government sucks, right? Government bad. So there you go. Glad to hear it. Cole Hammer for $7 says, what grade would Sitch and Adam give Biden now that we have time to reflect? That's a good question.
F minus.
F minus. Wow.
No, I don't. Look, I guess I would have to do the cost benefit analysis, but I wouldn't give Biden the credit because I really think Biden was spaghetti brain around 2021.
Well, I guess you have to give it the Biden administration, right? You
yeah.
Personally. So.
Of course, yeah. So you really don't know who you're really even giving credit to.
Right.
So, I mean, I do think they handled you. Well, look, it depends upon if you believe that we should have went harder in the beginning. If that's the case, then the Biden administration totally shit the bed. They should have gone like 10 times harder. One of the maybe, and this is the thing. So you've got two different people who can make military decisions. I think you have the head of the military and you have the commander in chief, who is the president, right?
Mm-hmm.
Both of those people can make decisions, like kind of unilaterally, but the president can obviously veto any decision the defense secretary makes.
Right.
So maybe the defense secretary is going super soft because he's like, oh my God, our commander in chief has noodle brain, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like he's like, I can't press this. Imagine getting in some sort of confrontation with Russia. Well, we have absolutely no commander in chief. If that's the case, F fucking minus. F minus
Right.
minus.
Right. I mean, definitely, if that's the case, right? Or it could have
Yeah.
been, the whole, they just didn't want Russia to collapse. So I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah.
I don't know the answer to that question, but.
I'm going to have to continually, that's one Sitch is going to have to remind me of constantly, because I'm like, oh yeah, that sucks.
Mm-hmm. Nobody wants that to happen. So.
I have to embed that into my strategic thinking now.
Mm-hmm.
Horrible.
But, yeah, I don't know. I'm leaning towards C minus, I think, is what I'm leaning towards. So, not I don't feel confident with that grade, though. Okay. Fondue for Joy says, why not just make tariffs symmetrical and call it a day? I mean, I thought that's what Trump was claiming he wanted to do at some point. I don't know whatever happened to that. So, but there's economic reasons why I guess you don't want to do that. Depending, I think it's very, very context specific. So,
Yeah, if you're trying to open up foreign markets, that is
Right.
definitely the thing to do. So, but I think Trump should come out and use that as a negotiation. He should say, look, I don't want to screw you guys up. Like, we love having your products in America. We just want you to open your markets up to our businesses, right?
well, he
And
was
let the
kind
market
of
decide.
saying that, but then I guess that all went out the window. So,
But you can't say that and also say, oh, and by the way, move your fucking factory to the United States or I'm going to kick you in the teeth. Like, that doesn't, those
Right.
messages are completely opposed to one another, aren't they?
Right. They are, yeah.
Anyway,
Fondue for Jar says, bold move by Russia. Neither one is wearing a suit. How do we tell which one is the real Vladimir? True. There you go. Exactly. Fondue for Jar says, silver lining is Trump gifted us in the end of the alt-right playbook. Is it? I mean, I kind of like those. I kind of like watching those and commenting on them because they were so cringe and terrible. It was like a
'cause
good lolcow. So. Fondue for $6 says, by the way, Adam, what is your view on stock buybacks? Saw a video today that it leads to short-term business behavior. Should it be banned to help make more long-term minded CEOs?
I mean, I own stock, so I want to, hell yeah, I love stock buybacks. Stock buybacks shrinks the money supply of stock. So increases the value of each individual share of stock.
So there you go.
So what do they do when they buy the stock back, Sitch? Do they sell it again? That would defeat the whole purpose. They fucking light it
No.
on fire.
There's a giant monster that lives in the basement that they feed it to in the company.
Yeah. They delete it.
Well, they don't. I mean, they don't
They
delete it.
shred it.
I thought they just don't. They usually give it to themselves, or so they could sell it off if they need money down the road.
No.
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 Are you sure about that?
Yep.
Okay.
They can always print more stock if they need to.
Don't they have to vote on that? You can't.
They
can't
do
just
have. They do additional stock offerings when they need to raise capital. So, but I'm pretty sure they don't use the stock that they bought back and sell that stock off. They do another offering. I'm sure there's all sorts of legal machinations that go into this. So
Interesting.
yeah.
Okay.
Look, he's fact checking right now. He's
No,
like
I'm not.
busily
I'm literally
Googling.
not looking it up. I'm not looking it up. Salah Fortura says, check out The Watchmen Ultimate Cut. It's the director's cut plus Tales of the Black Fader, narrated by Gerard Butler, I don't like how the movie says Lori is the comedian's daughter. I figured it out the day after I finished it. Oh, do they not say it explicitly in the comic? I don't remember. But that's interesting. Well, I mean, listen, it's, you got to be very clear. You got to shove things in people's faces. Otherwise, they're not going to get it. So
Look, I've won Sitch over.
sometimes.
That's my
on the
writing.
thing.
That's my writing philosophy right
Sometimes
there.
it depends on the thing. So
This is like so new writer, so first time writer. They're like, oh, it's subtle. It's subtle, but it's there. You're like,
you're a little too much in the other direction. So,
a little too in the face.
you're a little too in the face. Okay.
I just want things to be clear.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Lucifer Doman for 10 Canadian says, thank you for sending me the comic. Sitch, make sure to give Adam extra % of the super chat money to pay for the shipping. A-Team reigns supreme.
Hell no. That's not going to
There you
happen, obviously.
There you go. I'm going to give Adam all the extra tummy rubs. Okay.
If he wants to give me a foot rub, I'll take it.
A foot
you
rub.
Imagine?
You want to
Can
get thrown out?
imagine?
You want to get thrown out a window, Adam?
Can you imagine? My wife
What?
comes home and Sitch is giving me a foot rub.
Would she be bothered by that? Is she gonna throw him out the window like Marcel Wallace?
She would probably be bothered because I'd be throwing up in like a bucket. Oh,
Wow, look at this guy.
Oh, this homo rubbing my feet.
Doesn't want a foot rub. Okay, fine. I'll give you a back rub. Jeez, that's less
oh my
gay, right?
God, no way. Do not stand behind me.
Okay. No, you'd be laying down. I'm not standing. I'll be on top of you, right? So I can reach the good places.
Oh my God. Sitch has a higher tolerance for this like gay stuff than me, but I can handle it a little bit, but Sitch always
Can't
takes
handle
it
it
too
at
far.
all. Okay, he's a pussy. Adam clearly loses at every round of gay chicken.
That's exactly what it is too.
He was never
That's
very good at gay
exactly what
chicken.
it is.
Okay.
I'm just worried you're gonna go all Steve Crowder on me. Next thing you know, I'm gonna have dick pics on my phone. It's like, Sitch, I think it's a little too far.
Well, listen, if Sammy gets her wish and I show up on stream on a dress, then you could be,
Oh my God.
like Crowder,
Oh my
be
God.
concerned.
I want to make sure the money is in escrow before you do that.
There you go. Grassy Tedemont for $5 says, if you make Sam Cedar write the forward for your next comic, I'll pay $300 a page. I mean, that's quite the difficult swing to get there, to get Sam Cedar. So
The forward?
yeah.
Hmm.
But we'll go for it.
I would not want Sam Cedar anywhere near a comic book that I was producing. So
You just write the forward.
why would I pay for a page of Sam Cedar fucking nonsense on it? What's that? Yeah, but we're gonna pay to print the book. We're gonna promote. Uh-oh. Yeah, you are. I don't know what's happening. All right, bye-bye. See you guys. That was weird because it looked like some mic thing on